Chapter 35-25. Boom. Boom boom boom. Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampaio's expressions were extremely solemn. At the same time, they no longer held back and unleashed all of their techniques. The vast and unparalleled power of flames and the unpredictable power of death were unleashed. However, under Duan Lingtian's power of imprisonment, although the two of them were strong and their combined attacks were so strong that even a top 6-star war god would not dare to face them head-on, they were unable to truly shake Duan Lingtian's imprisonment space. They only managed to cause the imprisonment space to tremble slightly, change to another place to attack. Just as Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampaio's expressions changed drastically, Su Konghai's timely reminder rang in Tang Sampaio's ears. After Su Konghai's reminder, Tang Sampaio's eyes suddenly lit up. That's right. How could he have forgotten? Now, he and Ling Jueyun were directly facing Duan Lingtian. Not only were they attacking Duan Lingtian's imprisonment space, but they were also directly resisting Duan Lingtian's Tao of control of the 4 Taos of heaven and earth that he had just mastered. The area around Duan Lingtian's body was completely under his control. Within the range of his control, the imprisonment space was naturally extremely strong. It was not something that he and Ling Jueyun could break through. However, if it was in other areas of the imprisonment space, he and Ling Jueyun might be able to break through. Ling Jueyun. Without any hesitation, Tang Sampao called out to Ling Jueyun. Then, under his reminder, Ling Jueyun also restrained his attacks. At the same time, his gaze swept to other areas of the imprisonment space. The two of them were actually relatively calm people. However, because this battle had shocked them greatly from the very beginning, they could no longer maintain their usual calmness. If it was a one-on-one battle, they could remain calm. However, 2 against 1 was a kind of blasphemy to their strength. After all, their opponent was not older than them. In fact, he was even younger than their average age. Under such circumstances, they could not maintain a good mentality. However, with Su Konghai's reminder, the two of them quickly changed their attack plan. As long as it was a place that was not covered by Duan Lingtian's Tao of control, with the two of them working together, they might be able to break through the imprisonment space. Whoosh! Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampao instantly retreated. Then, they attacked in the opposite direction. They wanted to break through Duan Lingtian's imprisonment space from the other side. This scene caused the eyes of many people who saw through their plan to light up. Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampao are indeed peerless existences who became 6-star gods of war before the age of 1000. Under such circumstances, they can still calmly deal with Duan Lingtian's attack. This is really rare. Duan Lingtian's strength lies not only in his comprehension of the law of space, but also in his mastery of the Tao of control, one of the 4 Taos of heaven and earth. He's the master of space in the area around him. Unless one's strength is far stronger than him, it's difficult to break through his control of the area. If Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampao joined forces, even a top 6-star god of war wouldn't dare to face them head-on. If they joined forces and changed their direction to avoid Duan Lingtian's Tao of control, they should be able to break through Duan Lingtian's Tao of control. Even if they break through, I'm afraid they're no match for Duan Lingtian. At this moment, we're certain Duan Lingtian is a 7-star god of war. A 7-star god of war who's not even 700 years old. In the history of the Devata realms, whether it's the natives of the Devata realms or the Ascenders, I don't think there's anyone like this before, right? Even Duan Lingtian's master, the legendary heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, didn't have such an achievement at such a young age. When Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampao turned around and launched their attacks, the originally silent spectator seats became lively again. Although they had regained their senses, they were still shocked by the news that Duan Lingtian was a 7-star god of war. It would take them a long time to calm down, and they might not be able to calm down until today. I have some ideas. When Duan Lingtian saw Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampaio's attacks, he smiled faintly. With just a thought, he waved his right hand and made a grabbing motion in the air. When Duan Lingtian made a grabbing motion in the air, Ling Jueyun and Tang Sampao launched their attacks again. However, before they could even touch the Tao of control, they were swept away by a surge of energy and disappeared into thin air. In the next instant, bang! An earth-shattering sound came from above everyone's heads. Only then did the crowd realize that Ling Jueyun and Tang Sanpeio's attacks had reached the horizon and collided with each other. Gusts of strong wind swept across the sky, causing everyone's robes to flutter noisily. However, at this moment, the group of young geniuses present did not care about their own sorry state. Instead, they looked at Duan Lingtian in shock and disbelief. Oh my god! Duan Lingtian sent Ling Jueyun and Tang Sanpeio's attacks out? If he wants to send their attacks out, unless he has merged the transportation profundity of the law of space with the other two profundities of the law of space. I'm also an expert in the law of space. If I'm not mistaken, the law of space that Duan Lingtian used is the fusion of the transportation profundity, the teleportation profundity, and the distortion profundity. It's a new combination of three profundities. The fusion of three profundities of the law of space? Heavens! With such strength, even if he's not a 10-direction celestial emperor, he's at least a top 7-star god of war, right? That's right. With such comprehension of the law, coupled with his mastery of the sword Dao and the control Dao, once he becomes a 10-direction celestial emperor, he'll be as strong as an 8-star god of war. He's definitely going to win the battle of geniuses this time. His goal must be the exploding element celestial fruit. As long as he has the exploding element celestial fruit, he'll be able to become a 10-direction celestial emperor in a short time. The Tidal Temple has produced an 8-star god of war, who's not even 700 years old. While the crowd was in an uproar over Duan Lingtian's new technique, Duan Lingtian made his move again. He used the space shackles to bind Tang Sanpao and Ling Jueyun respectively. Although Duan Lingtian did not make a move, he was still able to toy with the two profundities of the law of space. No matter how hard the two profundities tried, they could not break the space shackles at all. Upon seeing this, the onlookers were speechless. They're not on the same level at all. This is bullying. That's right. It's like an adult beating up a 3-year-old child. It's too much. They're not on the same level at all. Is there a need to continue this duel? Both Ling Jueyun and Tang Sanpao felt powerless. In the end, they decided not to make a move. Ling Jueyun's cold expression darkened slightly. It was not because Duan Lingtian had defeated him, but because of himself. He was a lineal disciple of the Ling clan in a realm of gods, and yet, he was left in the dust by a mere transcender. In the past, his strength was on par with Duan Lingtian. In just a blink of an eye, after a few hundred years, Duan Lingtian had already left him in the dust, and it was impossible for him to catch up. It would be a lie if he said this did not affect him. I thought my improvement over the past few hundred years was already good enough. I didn't expect him to improve so much. Ling Jueyun looked at the purple figure who was the center of attention and sighed inwardly. He knew that after today, almost everyone in the Devata realms would know about Duan Lingtian. When the spatial tunnel between the realms of gods and the Devata realms was opened, there would definitely be forces from the realms of gods trying to recruit Duan Lingtian. For someone like Duan Lingtian to achieve so much in the Devata realms, it meant he had great potential. Even the major forces in the realms of gods would want to recruit him. Nobody could say for sure if such a person would become a supreme powerhouse in the future. Although the realms of gods were created by supreme powerhouses, and most of the gods were the descendants of the supreme powerhouses who created the realms of gods, the competition in the realms of gods was fierce. Every powerful force in the realms of gods hoped to have a new supreme powerhouse in their sect or clan. At that time, they would be able to obtain more benefits and privileges. They would also be able to obtain more resources in the realms of gods that were coveted by others. Duan Lingtian, you're a freak. At this moment, Tang Sanpao was no longer as aloof as he was when he fought with Duan Lingtian. It was as though he had returned to his original self. He let out a long sigh before he said, "Initially, I wanted to defeat you and show off to the old man. I didn't expect I would be defeated by you just like how the old man was defeated by your master. Now, I don't have the chance to show off anymore." Tang Sanpao sighed. Duan Lingtian looked at Tang Sanpao intently. He did not suspect that Tang Sanpao was the Tidal Temple's trump card. As it turned out, the Tidal Temple's trump card that he had been looking forward to was right next to him. Vice Temple Master Su. Under the watchful eyes of the others, Feng Qingyang flew into the air again. He looked at Su Konghai and said with a faint smile on his face, "Now, my disciple should be ranked first in the Devata Realm's Battle of Geniuses, right?" Su Konghai nodded. Naturally, he could not lie to Duan Lingtian at this moment. Otherwise, not only would it affect his reputation, but it would also affect the reputation of the Tidal Temple. If I'm not mistaken, the exploding element celestial fruit is with you, right? Feng Qingyang asked again, "Can you give it to my disciple now?" Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Su Konghai hesitated for a moment before he took the exploding element celestial fruit out of his spatial ring. As soon as the red celestial fruit appeared, it emitted a refreshing fragrance. Immediately, the gazes of the group of young geniuses became incomparably fiery. Chapter 35-26. The explosive element celestial fruit was one of the most precious rewards in the Devata Realm's Battle of the Geniuses. It could allow a 9 Palaces Celestial Emperor to become a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor in a short time. It should be known that the difficulty of breaking through the last cultivation realm of an immortal, even if it was only a small realm, was not inferior to breaking through a large realm. It was even more difficult to break through multiple small realms added together. Some people took longer to break through from a 9 Palaces Celestial Emperor to a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor than he did when he was a 1 Basic Celestial Emperor. Those who were more talented usually took longer than him to break through to the 9 Palaces Celestial Emperor from the 3 Talents Celestial Emperor and the 4 Stars Celestial Emperor. Even the most talented Celestial Emperors would take longer to become a 9 Palaces Celestial Emperor than he did when he was a 6 Combination Celestial Emperor or 7 Stars Celestial Emperor. An exploding element immortal fruit could save a lot of cultivation time for a 9 Palaces Immortal Emperor. Consuming an exploding element immortal fruit would give one a huge advantage over ordinary people on the path of cultivation. For this reason, everyone was shocked when the Tidal Temple gave out the exploding element celestial fruit as a reward for the winner of the Devata Realm's Battle of the Geniuses. In their opinion, shouldn't such things be digested internally? So this is the exploding element immortal fruit. This is the first time I've seen it. Just by smelling its fragrance, I feel like I'm bathing in the spring breeze. What a miraculous spiritual fruit. Many people exclaimed as they stared at the exploding element immortal fruit in Su Konghai's hand. Before Tang Sanpeio's identity was exposed during the Battle of the Geniuses, I was wondering why the Tidal Temple would be so generous as to reward him with the explosive element celestial fruit. However, when Tang Sanpao revealed his strength as a 6-star god of war, I finally realized the Tidal Temple was confident in young Master Tang Sanpao. They were confident that Tang Sanpao would be able to obtain the explosive element celestial fruit. At the same time, someone else said, unfortunately, in the end, it still ended up being a wedding dress for someone else. It was clear the Tidal Temple's plan had failed. The exploding element celestial fruit no longer belonged to the Tidal Temple. Instead, it belonged to Duan Lingtian. In other words, it belonged to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. I'm sure the Tidal Temple didn't expect peerless geniuses like Ling Jueyun and Duan Lingtian to participate in the Battle of the Geniuses. Ling Jueyun is still fine. After all, he only tied with Tang Sanpao. Didn't you hear what Tang Sanpao said? If Ling Jueyun is still the champion, will the exploding Yuan immortal fruit be decided by drawing lots? In that case, Tang Sanpao would have a 50% chance of obtaining the exploding element immortal fruit. Now, you don't even have the slightest chance. That's right. Duan Lingtian's strength is too terrifying. He's not even a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor, but his strength is already comparable to a top 7-star god of war. If he becomes a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor, his strength will be comparable to a top 8-star god of war. Many young geniuses and heavenly emperors from various Devata realms discussed among themselves. They felt the Tidal Temple had gone for wool and come home shorn. It seemed like they had shot themselves in the foot and gone overboard with their plan. Duan Lingtian, this is one of the rewards for winning first place in the Devata Realm's Battle of the Geniuses. As for the reward for entering the secret room in the Tidal Temple, you'll have to come to the Tidal Temple yourself. Su Konghai looked at Duan Lingtian and handed the exploding element immortal fruit to him. Although he was reluctant to give the exploding element immortal fruit away, he knew he had no choice but to do so. If he did not give it to Duan Lingtian, the title temple would become a laughingstock and lose its credibility. Perhaps, not many geniuses would participate in the battle of the geniuses in the Devata realms. After all, the exploding element immortal fruit was nothing compared to the glory of the title temple. Thank you, Vice Hall Master Su. Duan Lingtian thanked Su Konghai as he took the exploding element immortal fruit. You don't have to thank me. You earned it with your own strength. Su Konghai smiled and nodded at Duan Lingtian. His smile was as gentle as a spring breeze. He did not seem reluctant to give away the exploding element immortal fruit at all. However, Duan Lingtian became even more wary when he saw Su Konghai acting like this. Most of the time, people who appeared kind on the surface but were vicious on the inside were the most terrifying. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but difficult to dodge a stab in the dark. Apart from that, if you want to enter the Tidal Temple's secret chamber, you can go to the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven and look for Hall Master Yi. He'll bring you to the main hall of the Tidal Temple to cultivate there. Su Konghai looked at a small floating island in the distance as he spoke. On the small floating island, a figure appeared in the air. It was a middle-aged man with a medium build and an ordinary appearance. He wore a black robe and had a gloomy expression on his face, making him appear somewhat sinister. Duan Lingtian, I'm Yi Ya, the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven. When the middle-aged man introduced himself, he forced a smile on his face. However, his smile was uglier than crying. Whenever you want to go to the Tidal Temple's main hall, you can look for me in the Tidal Temple's solitary destructive heaven sub-hall, the middle-aged man said coldly. All you have to do is report your name when you arrive at the branch. Yi said. All right. Duan Lingtian replied. I'll have to trouble Hall Master Yi in the future. It's no trouble at all. Yi shook his head and flew back to the branch. Let's go. A rare smile appeared on Feng Qingyang's face when he saw his disciple, Duan Lingtian, had obtained the exploding element celestial fruit. Then, he beckoned to Duan Lingtian before he left with Duan Lingtian. The two of them floated away. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared behind the clouds in the sky and disappeared before everyone's eyes. However, even after both of them had left, the scene of the Devata Realms battle of the geniuses fell silent. After a few moments, the atmosphere finally became lively again. Most of the people were discussing the earlier battle. Duan Lingtian is too strong. He didn't even make a move from the beginning until the end. All he did was attack from afar, and he was able to toy with Ling Jueyun and Tang Sanpao. They're not on the same level at all. Whether it was Ling Jueyun or Tang Sanpao, there was no lack of similar discussions when they returned to their seats. Ling Jueyun was indifferent to the discussions. Tang Sanpao, on the other hand, felt awkward and helpless. In the end, he could not take it anymore and returned to Su Li, Ling Jueyun, and the others. He sat on the other side of Ling Jueyun. At this moment, the seat between Su Li and Ling Jueyun, which was previously occupied by Duan Lingtian, was now empty. Tang Sanpao was tactful enough to not sit there. Ling Jueyun, how long have you known Duan Lingtian? Has he always been so freakish? Tang Sanpao could not help but ask. He knew almost nothing about Duan Lingtian's past. The only thing he knew was that Duan Lingtian had obtained the inheritance from Feng Qingyang, the legendary heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, when he was still in the mundane realm. He had officially become Feng Qingyang's only true disciple 100 years ago. A few hundred years ago, our strength was on par with each other. Ling Jueyun's tone was indifferent and emotionless. However, if one listened carefully, one would be able to hear a hint of disappointment in his voice. A few hundred years ago, your strength was on par with each other? A few hundred years later, you've been left in the dust? Tang Sanpao was stunned. You're a disciple of a powerful clan in a realm of gods. How could you be surpassed by a celestial from a Devata realm? To be more precise, you've been surpassed by an ascender from the mundane realm. Likewise, Ling Jueyun turned to look at Tang Sanpao and said indifferently. Tang Sanpao was so angry that his face turned red. He did not say anything else. All right, Although the top 3 of the Devata Realm's Battle of Geniuses have been decided, all of you still have a chance to be ranked later. Su Konghai's voice rang in the air again, pulling everyone back from their thoughts. Now, I announce that the Battle of Geniuses will continue. When Duan Ling Tian left with Feng Qingyang, both of them left together. Meng Luo, the heavenly savage celestial emperor, did not follow them. Master, where's the Azura Hell? Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. He discovered his master did not bring him to the transporting formation in the heavenly palace of the primeval heaven. After leaving the heavenly palace of the primeval heaven, his master led him in a certain direction. It's in an independent realm. Feng Qingyang replied. An independent realm? How do we get there? Duan Lingtian was taken aback. All Devata realms have to head east. When you reach the realm barrier, a transporting formation will appear and send you to the Azura Hell. Feng Qingyang said, if you want to return, you'll have to use the transportation point in the independent realm of the Azura Hell to return to the eastern realm of the Devata realm. However, it's not certain which Devata realm you'll end up in. For this reason, most people don't go to the same Devata realm after returning from the Azura Hell. It's very unlikely that all 81 Devata realms will be the same. Duan Lingtian was enlightened by Feng Qingyang's words. At the same time, Duan Lingtian recalled something. Master, if that's the case, you could have returned to the Devata realm from the independent realm where the Azura Hell is located. Even if that person was chasing you, it's impossible for him to appear in the same Devata realm as you, right? Duan Lingtian asked. That's right. Feng Qingyang nodded. Then, he shook his head and sighed. However, he was too fast at that time. After I arrived at the independent realm where the Azura Hell is located, I didn't have a chance to return. I could only enter the Azura Hell without looking back. Now that I think about it, it's fortunate that he was in such a hurry. Otherwise, I would have missed out on a great opportunity. Feng Qingyang chuckled when he reached the end of his sentence. It could be said that he had profited from a disaster. Chapter 35-27. The Azura Hell was one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. Due to Feng Qingyang's narrow escape in the Azura Hell, Duan Lingtian had heard about the Azura Hell before he ascended to the Devata realms. Master, the Azura Hell is one of the top 3 deadliest places in the Devata realms. It's said that it's difficult for those below the level of gods to escape from there. Apart from the deadliest place in the Devata realms, the other deadliest place should be similar to the Azura Hell, right? Duan Lingtian asked as they traveled.
Yes.
Feng Qingyang nodded. One of the other 2 deadliest places is similar to the Azura Hell, but the other one is even stranger than the Azura Hell. Many gods have been trapped there before. For this reason, it's called the Graveyard of the Gods. Feng Qingyang replied. The Graveyard of the Gods was the strongest of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. Duan Lingtian had heard about this before. He knew many gods had died there before, and that was how it got its name. Master, you must have narrowly escaped death in the Azura Hell, right? Duan Lingtian asked. Indeed, narrowly escaped death. Feng Qingyang nodded. A hint of fear that Duan Lingtian did not notice could be seen in the depths of his eyes as he said, speaking of which, I'm only alive because I was lucky enough to enter that place. In the chaos, there are tens of thousands of doors of life and death, but there are only a few doors of life. It's already a great fortune for me to be able to enter a door of life. Duan Lingtian was unaware of Feng Qingyang's encounter in the Azura Hell. However, he knew he would find out soon enough. Master, you said earlier that your true body is trapped inside? Can you come out now? Duan Lingtian asked again. He had heard from Hua Lao that his master Feng Qingyang's true body was trapped in the Azura Hell. That was why he asked this question. I was able to come out after I went in with Meng Luo. Feng Qingyang said, however, after my true body was freed, I asked my true body to stay there for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to explore the place. Second, I wanted my true body to break through and become a God King. God King. Duan Lingtian had learned about the cultivation bases of gods in the realms of gods from Huang the sword soul of the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Huang Even if Huang did not tell him, the 5 divine spirits would have told him about it. In the realms of gods, gods were divided into 5 major realms: God, God King, God, Emperor, God, and Divine of Gods. Of the 3 stages of the God, lesser deities, intermediate deities, and higher deities. Among them, lesser deities were the weakest. They would be at this cultivation level upon becoming a deity, while higher deities were the most powerful among the deities. After the higher deities were the lesser deities, followed by the intermediate deities and then the higher deities. It was the same for the rest of the realms. This time, my original body made another discovery. However, even though I discovered the secret chamber, I'm not sure if you'll be able to stay there. Feng Qingyang said, previously, when I brought Ming Luo in, he was suppressed by the formation left behind in the secret chamber. I had no choice but to send him out. It's as though one needs to be acknowledged by the secret chamber to be able to stay there. Feng Qingyang explained everything in one breath. Acknowledged? Duan Lingtian was stunned.
Yes.
Feng Qingyang nodded. I suspect that the secret chamber I discovered was left behind by someone. I was able to enter because I mastered the destruction technique and was acknowledged by the secret chamber. To be more precise, it was the acknowledgement of the person who left the secret chamber. I'm certain that the person who left the secret chamber is no ordinary person. Even if he or she isn't a supreme expert, he or she must be someone who stands at the peak of the gods. I've gained a lot from entering the secret chamber. Back then, I relied on the destruction sword Dao to gain the secret chamber's acknowledgement and was guided into the gate of life. Now, I can bring you into the gate of life. However, it's not up to me to decide if you'll gain the secret chamber's acknowledgement. However, it shouldn't be a problem since you've already mastered the space sword Dao and control Dao. When Feng Qingyang reached the end of his sentence, he looked at Duan Lingtian with a gratified expression. I hope I can gain its acknowledgement. Duan Lingtian looked at Duan Lingtian expectantly. Soon after, Feng Qingyang did not let Duan Lingtian travel on his own. Instead, he brought Duan Lingtian with him at the speed of a godly spirit. It did not take long before they arrived at the eastern edge of the primeval heaven. This place was close to the easternmost part of the Devata realms in the primeval heaven. In this place, the teleportation point to enter the Azura Hell isn't fixed. However, it's easy to find. As long as you extend your divine sense, you'll be able to find the teleportation point. You can try, Feng Qingyang said to Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Duan Lingtian hovered in the air as he looked at the vast desert beneath his feet. There were no signs of life in the desert. Occasionally, he could see sandstorms and tornadoes raging in the desert. Upon hearing his master Feng Qingyang's words, he did not hesitate at all. He immediately extended his divine consciousness and swept it across the area. Swoosh, swoosh. After Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness, he quickly learned about his surroundings. At the same time, he discovered a moving transportation formation in a sandstorm. It was moving with the sandstorm. Did you discover it? Feng Qingyang asked with a smile on his face. When Feng Qingyang asked this question, he scanned the area with his divine consciousness and discovered 2 more portable teleportation formations. One of them was still inside the sandstorm, and the other was inside the sandstorm. As for the other one, it was within a tornado.
Yes.
Duan Lingtian nodded. Feng Qingyang did not say anything else. He brought Duan Lingtian to the nearest transportation formation in the sandstorm. The transportation formation in the sandstorm was the closest to them. How did you set up this transportation formation? Why does it feel like it appeared out of thin air? Before stepping into the transportation formation, Duan Lingtian asked in surprise. It did not appear out of thin air. There is a huge formation in this area. The various moving transportation formations here are only a small part of the huge formation. Feng Qingyang said as he led Duan Lingtian into the transportation formation. The moment Duan Lingtian stepped into the transportation formation, he felt his vision darken. What appeared in front of him was a blood-red world. There were also some demonic beasts fighting in the surroundings. Roar, roar. The demonic beasts roared and screamed in a loud and sharp voice. Bang, 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 bang. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian could tell these demonic beasts were as strong as celestial emperors. However, they did not seem intelligent. Moreover, their eyes were blood-red. These demonic beasts are born from the Azura Hell's blood. The quality of the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Azura Hell is similar to the realms of gods, but it's not as pure as the realms of gods. The heaven and earth spirit energy in the Azura Hell is filled with blood and violence. We humans have to refine the heaven and earth spirit energy before we can absorb it. If it weren't for this, my true body would have become a celestial king a long time ago. Feng Qingyang said as he led Duan Lingtian into the Azura Hell. Roar. Along the way, a gigantic creature that did not have eyes charged over. It looked like a tiger, but it had a pair of wings on its back and a mouth full of fangs. Its target was Duan Lingtian. It was as though between Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, Duan Lingtian was the easiest to bully. Swoosh. Feng Qingyang ignored the demonic beasts that pounced toward them. He knew his disciple would be able to deal with them. When Duan Lingtian made his move, he killed the demonic beasts with just a strike of his sword. The Azura Hell is just up ahead. Soon after, under Feng Qingyang's lead, Duan Lingtian arrived at the entrance of the Azura Hell. It was shrouded in a bloody mist. Black lightning could be seen flashing in the mist. The outer regions of the Azura Hell aren't too bad. Powerful titled celestial emperors such as quasi-gods can survive there. As long as they don't stay there for too long, they'll be able to leave safely. However, once they enter the Azura Hell, they'll be in a life-or-death situation. Even an ordinary god would be in a sorry state in that battle of life and death. Even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. However, with me around, we can enter the place where my true body is without any harm. Upon seeing Duan Lingtian's grim expression, Feng Qingyang comforted him. Let's go. With Feng Qingyang leading the way, Duan Lingtian passed through the bloody mist and entered the Azura Hell. After entering the Azura Hell, Duan Lingtian felt the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings had changed. Indeed, the quality of the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Azura Hell was much better than the heaven and earth spirit energy in the divine offering land. In fact, Duan Lingtian was certain the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Azura Hell was different. It seemed like the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods came from the same source. However, just as his master, Feng Qingyang, had said, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Azura Hell was not pure heaven and earth spirit energy. It was filled with a bloodthirsty and ruthless aura. Moreover, every time his master brought him to a place, he could feel the killing intent in the surroundings. It felt as though every blade of grass, tree, bird, and beast could easily kill him. This feeling was suffocating. However, when his master, Feng Qingyang, led him past the flowers, trees, insects, fishes, birds, and beasts, he seemed to have the help of a deity as he dodged every single one of the traps. It was as though he was taking a stroll in his own backyard. Don't release your divine consciousness anymore. Feng Qingyang's voice rang in the air. His tone was solemn. At this moment, his figure had already come to a halt as he brought Duan Lingtian to a deep ravine. Within the canyon was a boundless blood mist. Furthermore, the blood mist here was like blood that constantly flowed in the air above the canyon, emitting an even more terrifying killing intent. It was extremely strange. Chapter 35-28. Hearing Feng Qingyang's words, Duan Lingtian's nerves instantly tensed up. At the same time, he completely retracted his consciousness. In the next moment, he relaxed and allowed his master, Feng Qingyang, to take him and jump into the blood water of the Summer Valley. The moment he entered the blood water, Duan Lingtian only felt that he was about to suffocate. All sorts of terrifying murderous intents surged in from all directions until they were just inches away from him. Only then did they detour and leave. At the same time, Duan Lingtian subconsciously glanced at his master, Feng Qingyang, only to see that his master had a grave expression on his face. Beads of sweat even seeped out of his forehead. Ever since he had met his master, this was the first time he had seen his master in such a sorry state. After an unknown amount of time, Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he was led by his master into a cave on the side of the canyon's mountain wall. When he neared the cave, he could feel countless auras of death emanating from the surroundings. There were only a few weak auras of life circulating. One of the weak auras of life came from the cave he was currently in. Come, let's go in. After entering the cave, Feng Qingyang gave Duan Lingtian his freedom. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also began to size up the surrounding cave walls. At first, the cave walls were a mess, but as they went deeper and deeper, they could see some traces of carvings. When they went deeper, they could see some complicated and ancient patterns and lines, giving off an incomparably vicissitude feeling. You can use your consciousness here. Feng Qingyang spoke at the right time. Duan Lingtian, who had not dared to use his consciousness recklessly for a long time, extended his consciousness and touched the complicated and ancient patterns and lines on the cave walls. A vicissitude and ancient aura made him feel as if he was in ancient times. There was a roar in his mind, accompanied by waves of heart-wrenching screams that shook his heart. What is this place? Amidst his shock, Duan Lingtian withdrew his divine sense. This was because he discovered that this place was too strange. Just a few diagrams and lines on the cavern wall made contact with his divine sense, and it was as if his mind was completely lost. Master, did you survive after entering this place? Duan Lingtian asked Feng Qingyang.
Yes.
Feng Qingyang nodded. But the path leading to this canyon is filled with killing intent. I'm afraid no one below the level of God can successfully pass through. How did you pass through? Duan Lingtian asked. In his opinion, even if his master, Feng Qingyang, had only managed to escape from the canyon because of the destruction sword way, the path to the canyon was filled with killing intent. Back then, Feng Qingyang would definitely not be able to stroll leisurely like he was now. Faced with Duan Lingtian's question, Feng Qingyang was silent for a moment. After a while, he said in a hoarse voice, "It's Kuang Ling, my previous divine weapon. The sword soul of the solitary extinguishing flaming heavenly sword, Kuang Ling, temporarily resided in my body after its main body was destroyed. After entering the Azura Hell, I should have died outside the canyon, but it was Kuang Ling who, at the cost of burning itself, showed me the way out. It died, and I followed the path of life all the way to the outside of the canyon." Feng Qingyang's expression did not look too good. Master, I don't know. I'm sorry. Duan Lingtian felt a little embarrassed. Only now did he realize that he had mentioned something unbearable for his master. Kuang Ling was the sword soul of Feng Qingyang's divine artifact. He had never seen Kuang Ling before, but he had heard about it from Hualao. He also knew that it was Kuang Ling who had taken Hualao away. Although he had never seen Kuang Ling before, he had learned from Hualao that Kuang Ling was loyal to his master. Of course, as someone who also possessed a divine artifact soul, he naturally knew how loyal a divine artifact soul was to its master. If Huang ended up like Kuang Ling because of him, he would not be able to accept it. Putting himself in his master's shoes, he understood his master's current mood. It's okay. It's all in the past. Feng Qingyang sighed and shook his head. He did not continue to linger on this topic and change the topic. Instead, he changed the topic and said, "Back then, when I extended my divine sense into this canyon, I suffered a backlash from the murderous aura in the canyon. At that time, I used the destruction sword principle to counterattack. In the end, I sensed the summons of this place. When you came in just now, you should have sensed countless auras of death and a few auras of life, right?" At this point, Feng Qingyang asked Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded. "I sensed it. One of the auras of life came from here. However, although I sensed the other auras of life, I didn't know where they came from. If they didn't lead you there, you would never know where they are." Feng Qingyang said, "Back then, I was able to avoid the dangers that even deities would have a slim chance of surviving because I sensed the guidance of this place. That's why I was able to enter this place unhindered. I'll take you in to have a look." Under Feng Qingyang's lead, Duan Lingtian passed through the cave passageway and soon entered a spacious cave abode. This cave abode was very spacious, but also very simple. The walls were cut neatly and looked very bright. There were some tables, chairs, and a bed in the cave abode. It looked very simple. There were several other passageways around the cave abode. Those passageways lead to places that I didn't know before. Back then, I focused on cultivating in this cave abode for a period of time. It was only after I had completely recovered to my peak that I ventured into those passageways. Before that, the injured me was excluded from those passageways. Later on, I passed through one of those passageways and found a secret cultivation chamber. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth there was not as noisy as outside. Although there were still some impurities, they were very easy to remove. It was there that I successfully stepped into the level of a god and became a lesser god. After I became a lesser god, I created 2 clones of the law of earth and the law of destruction. Usually, the law of destruction clone would be with my main body. After I became a lesser god, I returned here to explore the remaining passageways. As Feng Qingyang spoke, he told Duan Lingtian about the passageway he had entered the secret cultivation chamber to cultivate and become a god. At the same time, he pointed at another passageway. Although I managed to enter this passageway after I became a god, I was trapped inside. Moreover, I was trapped for many years. Fortunately, I was able to cultivate quickly in there. My main body cultivated all the way until I became a higher god before I was able to break free and escape. Of course, before that, my Law of Earth clone left this place in the Azura Hell and returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to reclaim the position of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. I only returned here when I learned that my main body needed the help of my Law of Earth clone to escape. It was also the last time I brought Meng Luo here. Previously, my main body could have left together with Meng Luo. However, I was curious about where the other 2 passageways led to. Therefore, my main body stayed behind to figure out how to enter the other 2 passageways and pass through them to reach the other end. The first 2 passages gave me great benefits. Although I was trapped after that, it was also a way for me to temper myself. Had it not been for the tempering there, I wouldn't have been able to become a higher deity in such a short period of time. It was not until some time ago that my main body finally entered the 3rd passageway and discovered the secret cultivation chamber that contained the law of time. I've already told you about this. Feng Qingyang finished speaking in one breath. At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally understood why his master's main body had not left this place for so long. As it turned out, there were still secrets worth exploring in this place. Master, do you plan to let your main body stay here until you crack the last passageway? The last passageway is not that simple. Feng Qingyang shook his head and said, I'm thinking of trying to crack the last passageway after my main body becomes a god king. However, I have a feeling that even if my main body becomes a god king, I won't be able to crack the last passageway. That passageway is too sturdy. Even if my main body, Law of Destruction clone, and Law of Time clone all attack together, they still couldn't shake it. They couldn't shake it at all. When my main body becomes a god king, I'll leave. In the future, when I become a god emperor, I'll come back and try to crack the last passageway. Feng Qingyang's words naturally frightened Duan Lingtian. Which passageway is it? Duan Lingtian asked as he looked at the other 2 passageways. The one on the left. Feng Qingyang gave Duan Lingtian timely guidance. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a gust of wind blew past. Duan Lingtian saw a flash in front of his eyes, and then a person appeared out of thin air in front of him as though he had teleported. However, Duan Lingtian knew this was not teleportation. The other person's speed was so fast that it was difficult for him to catch sight of him with the naked eye. The person who had appeared in front of Duan Lingtian was another Feng Qingyang. They looked exactly the same, but their temperament was even colder. Master, is this your main body? Duan Lingtian had barely spoken when he saw Feng Qingyang's Law of Earth clone merge with the other Feng Qingyang. That's right. Now, all 3 of my law avatars are in my true body. Now, I'll bring you into the secret chamber to comprehend the law of time inside. Of course, you can try to share it with your friends and family. If they can't take it, you can put them back into your little world. Back then, Meng Luo didn't enter the secret chamber with the law of time. He went to the secret chamber with the first passageway I entered. However, even there, he was rejected. I'm not sure if the secret chamber with the law of time will reject your friends and family, or even you. Chapter 35-29. After entering the secret chamber, Duan Lingtian entered Feng Qingyang's little world and was brought in by Feng Qingyang. However, during this process, Duan Lingtian witnessed the terrifying murderous intent in the passage leading to the secret chamber. Even his master, Feng Qingyang, had to overcome it with great difficulty. If it were me, I would have died if I rashly barged into this passage, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Master. At the same time, Duan Lingtian recalled something. After becoming a god, only the main body will have a little world, right? A law clone shouldn't have a little world, right? His master, Feng Qingyang's little world, was not as colorful as his little world. This was because his little world had the divine tree of life and the endless heaven and earth spirit energy that was transferred into it from the ruins of a realm of gods. However, his master, Feng Qingyang's little world, was much larger than his. The two could not be mentioned in the same breath. Moreover, when his master, Feng Qingyang, made a move, there would be a resonance in the air above his little world. The terrifying energy was like a dark cloud that covered the sky above his little world. Of course, when his master, Feng Qingyang, stopped making a move, the strange energy would subside and disappear. Of course not, Feng Qingyang replied. Only the main body is the real body. As for a law clone, no matter what, it's still an avatar formed by the laws. It's just an existence that relies on divine energy. That is a kind of resonance between divine power and the laws. The avatar created cannot be compared to the original body. In fact, a law clone doesn't have a will of its own. It's the main body that's always controlling it. Take me for example. Although I've always had a law of Earth clone, it's always my main body that's controlling it. Whether it's traveling, attacking, or comprehending the law of Earth, it's always my main body that's controlling it. Feng Qingyang's words also gave Duan Lingtian a further understanding of the nomological clones that could be condensed after becoming a god. As long as you became a god and comprehended all the profundities of a certain law, you would be able to use all the profundities of that law to form a law clone without having to fuse the profundities. For example, this time, Feng Qingyang had passed through the passage and entered the secret room behind it. He had successfully comprehended all the profundities of the law of time and condensed a time law avatar. He had not fused any of the profundities of the law of time. Moreover, the law chamber could only help people comprehend the profundities of laws. It did not have the ability to help people fuse the profundities of laws. This was because everyone fused the profundities of laws differently. Everyone had to have their own comprehension. Of course, for many people, the existence of the law secret chamber could still give them some inspiration and allow them to fuse their own nomological profundities. We're here. After a while, the end of the passage appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes. At the same time, Duan Lingtian discovered that after passing through the passage, he had actually stepped onto a transportation formation and was transported to a small world. This is a small independent realm, Feng Qingyang said. The transportation formation to leave is right below our feet. I'll be waiting for you here for a period of time. If you're rejected, contact me immediately. I'll let you hide in my small world for a while. The same goes for your family and friends. If they're rejected, let them return to your small world immediately. Feng Qingyang reminded him again. Yes, master, Duan Lingtian responded. At the same time, under Feng Qingyang's guidance, he walked toward the law secret chamber in front of them. The law secret chamber was a small palace. It looked dazzling from the outside, and there were multicolored energies everywhere. They were the energies of the 5 elements. For example, at the top of the palace, there was a sharp horn. There was a golden energy flowing on it at lightning speed, like little golden snakes slithering about. Also, at one side of the palace, there was a green energy moving slowly. There was also an earthen yellow energy that was constantly sliding on the ground. The green energy contained the law of wind and should have been the fastest. However, when it moved around the palace, it was pathetically slow. It could be said that it was even slower than a snail. If not for looking carefully, Duan Lingtian would have thought that it was not moving at all. It must be the law of time affecting it. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian walked into the palace. The interior of the palace was dazzling, and the furnishings inside made Duan Lingtian sluggish. The furnishings in this palace were all kinds of timekeeping tools. There were funnels, clocks, and tools that used water to measure time. Any tool that could be thought of that could be used to record time was present here. There was not a single duplicate. There were also many types of clocks. There were modern clocks from Duan Lingtian's previous life on Earth, classical clocks from the West, and all kinds of watches floating in the air. It made Duan Lingtian feel as if he was in a clock collection museum on Earth. At the same time, Duan Lingtian could find that in this palace, whenever he extended his divine sense, he could come into contact with some wonderful energies. Some of these energies were fast, some were slow, and they all seemed to be fleeing. With a thought, he could capture them with his divine sense and then take them into his body and directly into his soul. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian discovered that he had come into contact with the law of time in the past but was unable to comprehend it. It was as though he had been enlightened. This is the elemental time. With a thought, Duan Lingtian extended his celestial origin energy that merged with the elemental time. It flowed around his body, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Following that, Duan Lingtian continued to extend his divine sense to capture the law of time that filled the palace. The secret chamber is so magical. It can directly capture the law of time and make it a part of my soul so that I can comprehend it. Duan Lingtian was shocked. At this moment, he began to pray in his heart that he would not be expelled like Ming Luo. However, before Duan Lingtian could comprehend the second profundity of the law of time, the elemental time, apart from the fundamental profundity, he felt a powerful repulsive force pushing him out. It's suppressing me. Duan Lingtian opened his eyes abruptly. His expression turned solemn when he recalled his master, Feng Qingyang's reminder. He quickly displayed the space sword Dao and the space control Dao that he had just mastered. Master said that he was able to obtain the acknowledgement of this place because he used the destruction sword Dao. Perhaps this place recognizes the heaven and earth Dao. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian cast 2 of the 4 Dao of heaven and earth. In the beginning, he was still a little nervous. However, after a while, he discovered the repulsive force that was suppressing him had retreated. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. It's really useful. Even his master, Feng Qingyang, was not certain that this method would work. He had only reminded him to give it a try. However, after giving it a try, it seemed to work. Let father, mother, and little Fei try it as well. After confirming that he would not be repelled, Duan Lingtian opened his little world and contacted his father, mother, wife, and son. He asked them to come out and try to capture the law of time. However, in the end, apart from his daughter, Duan Lingtian, the others were repelled. Moreover, the space sword Dao and the space control Dao that Duan Lingtian had mastered could not help them. In the end, he could only ask them to return to his little world. What a pity. It's such a good place, but we can't cultivate in it. Little Gold, who was in Duan Lingtian's little world, said with a bitter expression on her face. Rather than saying that it's cultivating, it's more like it's giving us the law of time. I didn't expect apart from Brother Lingtian, Si Ling wouldn't be repelled as well. What's going on? Little White asked in surprise. Could it be because Si Ling has comprehended the law of time? Apart from that, she hasn't come into contact with any other laws? Feng Tianwu speculated. Feng Tianwu's words were the best answer for Duan Lingtian and the others. Little Tian. At this moment, the world-cleansing divine water, one of the 5 divine elements, asked Duan Lingtian in shock. How? How did you find this place? Heavens! This isn't an ordinary secret chamber that contains the law of time. This is a secret chamber left behind by a supreme powerhouse. Duan Lingtian was taken aback by the world-cleansing divine water's words. A secret chamber left behind by a supreme powerhouse? Then, he told the world-cleansing divine water about how he had entered the secret chamber. That master of yours is truly blessed with good fortune. The world-cleansing divine water sighed emotionally. It's obvious this place is a paradise left behind by a supreme powerhouse. If I'm not mistaken, the true inheritance of the supreme powerhouse lies behind the last passage. As for the first 3 passageways, they are all tests and tempering for the inheritors that the supreme expert has chosen. Your master has obtained the acknowledgement of a supreme expert and has become his successor. Duan Ling Tian believed the world-cleansing divine water's words. His eyes lit up immediately as he sent a message to his master to inform him of this matter. Congratulations, Master. Duan Ling Tian did not forget to congratulate his master, Feng Qingyang, the true inheritance of a supreme powerhouse. Feng Qingyang was shocked when he heard Duan Ling Tian's message. Who told you that? One of the 5 divine elements in my body, the world-cleansing divine water. It used to accompany the divine tree of life in the realms of gods. Duan Ling Tian continued to send a message to Duan Ling Tian. I don't think it's false. Feng Qingyang calmed down when he heard Duan Ling Tian's words. Initially, he thought it was just a guess made by his disciple, Duan Ling Tian. However, it turned out it was the 5 divine elements that accompanied the divine tree of life. I didn't expect this at all. Although Feng Qingyang was calm, he could not help but shake his head and sigh. Chapter 35:30. Although Feng Qingyang had always felt that the place he was trapped in was not simple, he did not expect it to be left behind by an immortal expert. He originally thought he was bold enough to think that the place was left behind by a divine emperor or even an emperor god. As for the ultimate gods who were above the emperor god, the most powerful existence in this world, he did not dare to think about it. Now, he knew that the place was left behind by an immortal expert who was above the ultimate god level. How big was the gap between an immortal expert and an ultimate god? According to the rumors Feng Qingyang heard, the divine messengers around an immortal expert were all ultimate gods. Moreover, they were not ordinary ultimate gods. That was why he could not calm down for a long time after hearing the news brought by his disciple Duan Ling Tian. There's an inheritance left behind by an immortal expert at the end of the last passage? Even though Feng Qingyang had walked for more than 10,000 years and experienced many hardships to get to where he was today, he could not help but feel excited when he learned that he was recognized by an immortal expert and had the opportunity to obtain the inheritance. It was only after a while that he calmed down. If it were someone else, even a godly king, celestial emperor, or ultimate god would have lost their composure because of Feng Qingyang. What did the inheritance of an immortal expert mean? An immortal expert possessed the most powerful strength in this world and had endless life. Even if he wanted to take in a disciple, it was something that could be done with just a word. There was no need to go through so much trouble. An immortal expert who left behind such an inheritance is usually an immortal expert who was about to die. Duan Ling Tian was shocked when he learned this from the world-cleansing divine water. Sister Water, are you sure? Duan Ling Tian found it hard to believe. An immortal expert was extremely powerful. Even if his opponent was an immortal expert and he could not defeat them, he should be able to escape. Why would such an existence leave behind such a place of inheritance before he died? That must be it. The world-cleansing divine water said matter-of-factly, if a supreme master wants to find an inheritor, all he needs to do is to say a word, and countless people will come to find him. No matter what the request is, as long as someone can fulfill it, that person will be found. You can't imagine how great the influence of an omnipotent is. That is an existence that stands at the highest point in this world. Every word and action of theirs can decide the life and death of millions of people. When a supreme expert leaves behind a land of inheritance, it usually happens when they reach the end of their lifespan. They realize that they have stood at the peak of the world all their lives, but they don't have a successor to inherit their legacy. Because of this, they feel regret. Therefore, before they die, they spend all their strength to leave behind a land of inheritance. The world-cleansing divine water's words enlightened Duan Ling Tian. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but sigh. Perhaps this was what they meant when they said that it was lonely at the top. Utmost powerful beings stood at the highest point of this world, overlooking the masses and looking down on the world. Perhaps they had never thought that they would one day reach the end of their lifespan. When they truly reached the end of their lifespan, it was already too late for them to regret not finding a successor in the past. At that time, those who felt that it didn't matter if they inherited their legacy or not would not spend so much effort to leave behind a land of inheritance. However, those who wanted to inherit their legacy would spend a lot of effort to leave behind a land of inheritance. However, when your master obtains the supreme expert's legacy, he'll be tainted by karma as well. If he becomes a supreme expert in the future, even if the supreme expert who left behind the legacy doesn't ask him to avenge him, the person who killed the supreme expert who left behind the legacy won't let your master off so easily, the world-cleansing divine water said. The world-cleansing divine water continued to say, in the eyes of that supreme powerhouse, your master is his mortal enemy. He should have killed your master in the past. Now that the successor has appeared, it's equivalent to the rebirth of his mortal enemy. He won't allow such a threat to continue growing. There's a difference in strength between the strongest and the weakest. Furthermore, it's not as if the strongest who has lived longer will be stronger. Some of the strongest who rose up in the younger generation will be able to reach the peak of this world in a short period of time and become one of the strongest existences among the strongest. That ultimate powerhouse will be worried that your master will catch up to him after he becomes an ultimate powerhouse. At that time, if your master wants to kill him to avenge the ultimate powerhouse who left behind his legacy, won't he be in a passive position? Duan Lingtian's heart sank when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words. It seemed like obtaining the supreme expert's legacy was not a good thing after all. The world-cleansing divine water continued. It's the same for the supreme expert's divinity in your possession. The world-cleansing divine water continued to say, the godhead of a supreme powerhouse was left behind after the death of a supreme powerhouse. The person who killed him must have known his methods very well. In the future, if you become a supreme powerhouse by relying on the law of space, it's fine if you don't reveal your strength. However, if you reveal your strength, there will be traces of the supreme powerhouse who left behind the godhead. If the people who killed him back then found you and confirmed that you might be his successor, they would also make a move against you and kill you in the cradle. Duan Lingtian was initially worried about his master, Feng Qingyang. However, when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words, he was dumbfounded. As it turned out, he had already formed the karma of the supreme expert's legacy. However, when Duan Lingtian thought about the supreme expert's divinity in his possession and the help it had given him, his expression turned solemn as his eyes glinted. The supreme expert's divinity has helped me a lot. It's a huge credit to me that I'm who I am today. If I have the chance to become a supreme expert in the future, it'll be fine if the person who killed the owner of the supreme expert's divinity doesn't come looking for me. However, if he does, I'll avenge him and end this karma. Duan Lingtian was not afraid when he heard the world-cleansing divine water's words. Instead, he felt that it was an opportunity for him to avenge the owner of the supreme expert's divinity. He did not want to owe anyone a favor. Although the supreme expert's divinity was given to him by his good friend, Huang Jialong, he had formed the karma between him and the owner of the supreme expert's divinity. It would be fine if he did not have the chance to end this karma. However, if he had the chance, he would definitely end it. This was the principle of how he conducted himself. Nevertheless, Duan Lingtian still transmitted the world-cleansing divine waters words to his master, Feng Qingyang. After listening to Duan Lingtian's words, Feng Qingyang smiled indifferently. If I become a supreme expert, it's fine if that person doesn't come looking for me. However, if he dares to come looking for me, I'll know who the enemy of the supreme expert who left his legacy behind is. At that time, unless he's able to kill me, I'll definitely send him on his way if I don't die. Feng Qingyang's words were straightforward. There was no hint of fear in his voice. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. It seemed like his master had the same thoughts as him. All right, you should focus on absorbing the profundities from the law of time. Once you've comprehended all the profundities from the law of time, you'll be able to come out. Feng Qingyang said with a sigh, initially, I thought you'd be expelled. I didn't expect you to be able to master the four Tao of heaven and earth. You've won the approval of the secret room and didn't get expelled. Moreover, I didn't expect your family and friends to be able to absorb the profundities from the law of time. Your daughter's future is limitless. Feng Qingyang was not stingy with his words of praise for his grand disciple. Initially, he thought Duan Lingtian was lucky enough not to be expelled from the secret room. Although he had told Duan Lingtian that his family and friends could absorb the profundities from the law of time in the secret room, he did not think Duan Lingtian's family and friends would be able to absorb the profundities from the law of time. He was even more shocked when he learned that Duan Lingtian's daughter, Duan Siling, was not expelled from the secret room. Master, after leaving the Azura Hell, I'll ask my daughter and my family and friends to come out and meet you. Previously, they were cultivating, so I didn't interrupt them. Now that I've interrupted them, it's time for me to greet them. Duan Lingtian said through voice transmission. All right, Feng Qingyang replied. At the same time, he did not forget to remind Duan Lingtian, focus on absorbing the law of time. For a time, Duan Lingtian did not continue to communicate with Feng Qingyang. He immersed himself in the process of absorbing the law of time with his divine consciousness. He enjoyed the process more and more. The process of forcibly taking the law of time for himself was intoxicating. In the past, he had to comprehend the law of time on his own. Even if he had the supreme powerhouse divinity, he still had to comprehend the law of time on his own. Unlike now, when the law of time permeated the air, he could completely take it for himself, fuse it into his soul, and completely make it his comprehension of the laws. Time continued to pass by quietly. Duan Lingtian did not know how much time had passed, but he had completely mastered all the profundities from the law of time. The law of time also had 9 profundities. Naturally, the 9 profundities included the fundamental profundity, the time elemental profundity. There were a total of 8 profundities. Currently, Duan Lingtian had comprehended all 8 profundities to the mastery stage. However, there were no signs of them being fused together. At this time, he also discovered that he could no longer continue to capture nomological laws in this secret room of time law. When Duan Lingtian opened his eyes, he saw his daughter, Duan Siling, sitting cross-legged in front of him. She stared at him with her big, bright eyes. Father, you've also completely mastered all the profundities from the law of time? What? You've already mastered it? Duan Lingtian asked in surprise. His daughter had mastered all the profundities from the law of time earlier than him? Duan Siling giggled. Father, I've mastered the law of time for quite some time now. I used to comprehend the law of time, so I have a certain foundation. It's only natural that I've mastered it earlier than you. However, I didn't expect there to be such a magical place. In the past, the speed at which I comprehended the law of time was very slow. However, now that I've grasped all the profundities from the law of time, I've mastered all the profundities from the law of time to the mastery stage. Chapter 35-31. Yes. Duan Lingtian smiled as he looked at his daughter. Unknowingly, his attention was completely focused on his daughter's face. Some familiar silhouettes also appeared in his mind at the right time. Kerr. He had been separated from Kerr for 600 years. When he was separated from Kerr, both he and Kerr were not even 100 years old. The time they had been apart was longer than the time they had known each other. Father, do you miss Mother? Although Feng Tianwu had treated Duan Siling as her own daughter, Duan Siling could not replace Kup-er as her mother in Duan Siling's heart ever, since they left the divine offering land in the realms of gods and traveled in the mundane realms with Feng Tianwu. When Duan Siling saw the change in her father's eyes, she could vaguely guess what her father was thinking. Yes. Duan Lingtian returned to his senses and nodded as a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. I wonder how your mother is now. Father, don't worry. Mother will be fine. Mother will wait for us to reunite as a family. Duan Siling said solemnly. Of course. Duan Lingtian nodded. He did not want to reveal too many negative emotions in front of his daughter. At the same time, he could not help but worry. Was Kuer doing well in the world of divine remains? The realm battlefield was formed when the realms of gods collided once every 10,000 years. It would last for 1,000 years. During this period, Anyone from the realms of gods could enter the realm battlefield and kill people from other realms of gods to obtain military merits and be rewarded by the supreme powerhouses. The realm battlefield was more like a playground for the supreme powerhouses. However, for those who entered the realm battlefield from the realms of gods, it was a place filled with killing. Those who did not come from the same realms of gods would kill each other as soon as they met. Moreover, if one revealed one's wealth, even those from the same realms of gods would attack one mercilessly. Reality was cruel. Swoosh, swoosh, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Waves of ice-cold chilliness appeared on an ice field in the dimensional battlefield, accompanied by waves of clear sword whistles. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped a vast area, causing the temperature of the ice field, which was already low, to drop even further. In the void, two beautiful figures stood there. The person standing behind him looked to be in her 20s. She wore a light yellow dress and had a pretty face. However, her eyes seemed to be constantly moving. At that very moment, her gaze fell upon the three figures in the distant sky. They were all frozen into ice sculptures. Their bodies were all riddled with holes, and those holes seemed to contain an extremely frightening ice-cold aura. In front of this woman stood a woman in snow-white robes. In front of this woman, although the woman behind her had a beautiful face, at first glance, she looked like a maid at most. The woman in white had a face that could topple cities. As she stood there, her cold temperament was like a blooming lotus, causing people to be mesmerized. At this moment, she was holding a sparkling and translucent sword in her hand. An extremely cold aura was being emitted from the sword. The ice and fire were being weakened and finally merged into the sword. If there were any knowledgeable people here, they would immediately recognize the ice and fire on the sword as the sword's soul. However, it was obvious that she had suffered heavy injuries. Pooh! Without any warning, the white-clad woman's delicate body trembled slightly. At the same time, she spat out a mouthful of blood. It shot out like a blood arrow and froze in the blink of an eye. "Sister Kerr, you're injured?" The woman behind her cried out in alarm. She walked forward and asked with concern. "I'm fine." The white-clothed woman addressed as Big Sister Ku'er replied indifferently, "Unfortunately, the sword soul in my divine sword was almost destroyed. If I want to recover it, I'm afraid it'll take at least a few decades." Although she said that she was fine, the more she spoke, the more dispirited her tone became. "Sister Kerr, if there's no other way, why don't you leave the realm battlefield and return to the divine offering land? With your strength at such a young age, there must be a powerful force behind you, right?" As the woman reached the end of her sentence, she asked in a seemingly unintentional manner, "I won't leave the realm battlefield for the time being." The white-clad woman shook her head. "If you want to leave, you can leave on your own. With your strength, it's best if you don't stay here and risk your life if it's not necessary." "What about you, Sister Kerr?" the woman asked. "I have my reasons." The white-clad woman's eyes glinted as two figures appeared in her mind. One was a purple-clad young man, and the other was a little girl. "Brother Tian, Si Ling, are both of you doing well?" "It's better for me to follow you, Sister Kerr. I'll leave after you've recovered." The woman shook her head. "All right." The white-clad woman was none other than Kerr, who had entered the realm battlefield many years ago. More accurately, she was the daughter of the Xia clan in the divine offering land, Xianing Shui. After a few hundred years, she had already regained the cultivation base she had in her past life. However, she still felt that it was not enough. She needed to become stronger. The realm battlefield was the only way for her to become stronger in the shortest time possible. This was something that the clan behind her had spared no effort in nurturing her, but they could not give her. "Sister Kerr, what's your surname?" the woman in a light yellow dress asked again. "Duan," Kerr replied indifferently. She was not familiar with this woman. She had only met her by chance and saved her life. After learning that the woman was also from the divine offering land, she had been following her. With her character, she did not agree to let the woman follow her, but she did not reject her either. However, along the way, Kerr had been very cold to her. The woman did not seem to care about Kerr's coldness at all, and insisted on following Kerr. "Duan? Kerr Duan?" The woman raised her eyebrows. Her eyes flickered again. Sister Kerr, I don't think I've heard of the Duan clan in our divine offering land. Are you from some big clan? I don't belong to any clan or clan. I'm a rogue cultivator, Kerr said. A rogue cultivator? An imperceptible glint flashed across the woman's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. I need to find a place to recover. I won't be going out for the time being. You'd better leave this place and return to the divine offering land, Kerr said to the woman. As she spoke, she flew above the ice field. Finally, she chose a glacier and opened up a cave at the foot of the glacier to cultivate and recover. Sister Kerr, I'll stand guard for you. You can leave after you've recovered. The woman did not leave. I, Tong Xiaoxiao, am a grateful person. You've saved my life before, so I won't abandon you at a time like this. Tong Xiaoxiao followed Kerr into the cave that Kerr had opened up. Since it took a lot of effort to open up the cave, Kerr's aura had become more and more weak. She no longer paid any attention to Tong Xiaoxiao. After entering the cave, she casually set up a formation in the surroundings before she began to meditate and recover. Tong Xiaoxiao watched as Kerr closed her eyes and began to cultivate to recover. After a while, Tong Xiaoxiao called out tentatively, Sister Kerr. However, Ku Er did not respond to her. In the end, a hint of greed flashed across her eyes. She raised her hand, and a vast and unparalleled divine energy swept out. In an instant, the formation that Kerr had set up around her was shattered. An even more violent energy exploded and swept toward Kerr. At the same time, Tong Xiaoxiao's eyes burned with passion. As long as she killed this woman, she would be able to obtain all the treasures on her. Just as Tong Xiaoxiao was about to succeed and Kerr was about to die, Kerr suddenly opened her eyes. An extremely cold aura filled the air, and an ice wall appeared in front of her. A basket was in front of her and Tong Xiaoxiao. Bang! There was a loud bang and clear cracks appeared on the ice wall. However, it had completely blocked Tong Xiaoxiao's attack. How can this be? Tong Xiaoxiao's expression changed greatly. She subconsciously cried out in disbelief. How can you still have such great power? Weren't you injured? You tricked me? So what if I tricked you? Kerr stood up. Her snow-white robes fluttered in the wind. Her autumn eyes were calm and cold. You've been unwilling to leave. You've always wanted to take risks with me. I found it strange. Although I've saved your life, I didn't expect you to repay me. However, I didn't expect you to be the one I least expected. Not only do you not know how to repay me, you're even biting the hand that feeds you. Kerr's tone was extremely cold. At the same time, the entire cave dwelling was enveloped by a layer of cold air. Boundless icy energy swept out and instantly formed a prison that sealed Tong Xiaoxiao within. Boom! Rumble! Tong Xiaoxiao was skilled in the law of lightning. Her violent energy wreaked havoc as she tried to break through the law of ice. However, it was futile. Although the difference in strength between her and Kerr's was not large, it was not small either. Big Sister Kerr, I was just joking. Tong Xiaoxiao realized that she could not forcefully break through the prison and squeezed out a bright smile. Big Sister Kerr, I'll leave now. I'll get away from you. I gave you a chance. Kerr ignored Tong Xiaoxiao's words and said indifferently. At the same time, the moment she finished speaking, the law of ice combined with divine power swept out and froze Tong Xiaoxiao into an ice sculpture. Then, with a gentle push of her palm, the ice sculpture turned into powder. I'm Kerr in this life and also Xianing Xue in my previous life. If it was only the Kerr in this life, she might not be wary of you. However, as the daughter of the Xia family, I've seen a lot of deception and deception. How could I trust you so easily? Kerr looked indifferently at the ice shards that were scattered all over the ground. At the same time, she raised her head and looked outside the cave dwelling. Brother Tian, you have to take good care of yourself. Kerr's love for you has not changed. However, Kerr is no longer the same as before. Kerr will take good care of herself and protect herself. You can rest assured. Chapter 35-32. After comprehending all the profundities from the law of time, Duan Lingtian allowed his daughter, Duan Xiling, to return to his little world. Before that, he told Duan Siling not to enter closed-door cultivation for the time being. He wanted to introduce her and his family to his master, Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Master. Feng Qingyang led Duan Ling Tian out of the secret room that contained the law of time. Feng Qingyang said to Duan Ling Tian, "Now, go to the place where I stayed and cultivate. Consume the exploding element celestial fruit and try to become a 10 directions celestial emperor as soon as possible. The environment there is not bad. With the help of the exploding element celestial fruit, you'll be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort." Feng Qingyang said to Duan Ling Tian. This was something he had planned for a long time. If the secret chamber that contained the law of time did not reject his disciple, that place would not reject him as well. Although Meng Luo did not cultivate for long in the secret chamber, he has made great progress. Master, I won't be going there. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, "Let's return to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven first. After I introduce you to my family and friends, I'll cultivate in seclusion in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven." Upon seeing the slight frown on his master's face, Duan Lingtian knew his master did not want him to miss out on the opportunity to cultivate in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. After all, the cultivation environment in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven was comparable to the cultivation environment in the realms of gods. Master, I have a way to enjoy the cultivation environment in the realms of gods. In the end, Duan Lingtian did not tell his master how he could enjoy the cultivation environment in the realms of gods so that Feng Qingyang would not overthink things. Although it was not that he did not trust his master Feng Qingyang, it was better for fewer people to know about some things. Naturally, if his master, Feng Qingyang, asked him about it, he would still tell him the answer. However, Duan Lingtian knew his master, Feng Qingyang, would not ask about it. As it turned out, Duan Lingtian was right. A surprised expression appeared on Feng Qingyang's face when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. However, he quickly regained his composure and said, "In that case, I'll bring you back to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. As the master of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven and your master, it's time for me to meet your family and friends," Feng Qingyang said. From the beginning to the end, Feng Qingyang did not ask how Duan Lingtian enjoyed the cultivation environment in the realms of gods. However, even though he did not ask, he did not continue to dwell on this issue. It was obvious that he did not doubt Duan Lingtian's words. This was also his trust in Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian followed Feng Qingyang out of the Azura Hell and entered the transportation formation in the independent realm of the Azura Hell before they were transported to another Devata realm. It was neither the primeval heaven nor the solitary destructive heaven. After arriving in the Devata realm, the duo used the nearest transporting formation to return to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Soon after, they returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. In the main hall of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, Feng Qingyang stood at the head of the table while Duan Lingtian stood below him. At the entrance of the main hall, Elder Hua, who was wearing a fiery red robe, stood there as the gatekeeper. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as Duan Lingtian opened his little world, several figures appeared before him. They were Duan Lingtian's father, Duan Rufeng, mother, Li Ro, and wife, Li Fei. "Master, this is my father, this is my father, this is..." After Duan Rufeng and the others appeared, Duan Lingtian patiently introduced them to Feng Qingyang. A rare smile appeared on Feng Qingyang's face when he saw Feng Qingyang's family and friends. He nodded at Duan Rufeng and the others in a friendly manner. As the saying went, "Love me, love my dog. Father, mother, little Feier, Xiling, Nian Tian. This is my master, Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven." Duan Lingtian did not forget to introduce Feng Qingyang to his family and friends. Although he had mentioned Feng Qingyang many times, this was the first time his family and friends were looking at Feng Qingyang in the eyes. Since Duan Rufeng and the others had spent some time in the divine offering land, they did not feel awkward when they saw Feng Qingyang. "Greetings, Lord Heavenly Emperor. I'm Duan Rufeng." Duan Rufeng took the initiative to greet Feng Qingyang. Before the others could say anything, Feng Qingyang looked at Duan Rufeng and said, "Brother Duan, your son is my only true disciple. It's only appropriate for us to address each other as brothers." "It's inappropriate for us to address each other as brothers," Feng Qingyang said with a smile. "Yes, big brother Feng." Duan Rufeng was a quick-witted person. Since Feng Qingyang had spoken, he immediately changed the way he addressed Duan Rufeng. At this moment, Li Ro also greeted Feng Qingyang. "Greetings, big brother Feng." "I'm Li Ro." "Greetings, master." Li Fei bowed respectfully at Feng Qingyang. She had long heard about the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven and knew he was an extraordinary person. He was even more extraordinary than her grandmaster, who was also a heavenly emperor of a Devata realm. "Greetings, grandmaster." Duan Xiling and Duan Yintian bowed at Feng Qingyang as well. "Greetings, Lord Heavenly Emperor." Feng Wu Dao did not address Duan Rufeng as Duan Rufeng did. Although the matter between his daughter and Duan Lingtian was settled, they were not officially married yet. After thinking about it for a moment, he decided not to address Feng Qingyang as big brother Feng like Duan Rufeng. "Haha." Feng Qingyang laughed. Feng Qingyang laughed before he looked at Feng Wu Dao and said, "Brother Feng, just like brother Duan, you can address me as brother Feng. I'm also aware of the matter between your daughter, Tian Wu, and my disciple." "Tian Wu, is it?" Then, Feng Qingyang looked at Feng Tianwu and said with a smile, "You should address me as master like little Tian. Speaking of which, you're also a member of the Seven Absolutes sect in the mundane realm. We're family." Feng Wu Dao and Feng Tianwu had already learned about the matter between Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian from Hualao. For this reason, he was familiar with Feng Tianwu and Feng Wu Dao. "What about us? How should we address you?" Little Gold, who was usually carefree, behaved herself in front of Feng Qingyang. "You're Little Gold, right?" Feng Qingyang looked at Little Gold before he turned to look at Little Black and Little White. "The three of you can address me as Junior Uncle Feng." Upon hearing Feng Qingyang's words, Little Gold, Little Black, and Little White hurriedly bowed at Feng Qingyang. Soon after, Feng Qingyang's eyes landed on Mu Yi. She's Mu Yi, the successor of the Seven Absolutes sect's prophet progeny? Mu Yi seemed extremely uneasy when she saw Feng Qingyang's gaze on her. You, Duan Lingtian sighed. "Master, she's junior sister Mu Yi." Feng Qingyang narrowed his eyes when he heard this. Then, his powerful divine consciousness swept out and entered Mu Yi's soul before he quickly withdrew. He shook his head and said, "It's indeed troublesome for her to have an incomplete soul. However, it's said that there are treasures in the realms of gods that can repair souls. However, with her condition, even if her soul is repaired, she won't be able to remember much of her past. After all, her incomplete memories have already disappeared along with that portion of her soul." Feng Qingyang said, "There's a treasure that can repair junior sister Mu Yi's soul?" Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard Feng Qingyang's words. A hint of anticipation could be seen on his face. Even if Mu Yi could not remember her past, it was still a good thing that her soul could be repaired. At the very least, Mu Yi's intelligence would grow. She would no longer be as childlike as she was now. There's such a saying. As for whether it's true or not, we'll have to go to the realms of gods to verify it. Feng Qingyang said, "I'll ask Ling Jueyin about it." Since Mu Yi's soul was about to be restored, Duan Lingtian could not help but feel anxious. After bidding farewell to Feng Qingyang and the others, he made his way to the transportation formation in the Devata realms to return to the primeval heaven. When he arrived in the primeval heaven, he immediately sent a message to Ling Jueyin to ask if he had the treasure. "Yes." Ling Jueyin quickly replied to Duan Lingtian. "Is that why you came all the way here? Why don't you just ask Sister Huang?" Ling Jueyin was confused when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. "Huang?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. He smiled wryly and said, "I was too anxious. I only thought about you and forgot about her." "The Devata realm's battle of the geniuses has ended, right?" Duan Lingtian asked. "It ended a long time ago." Ling Jueyin said, "It's been a few months since the battle of the geniuses ended. When do you plan to enter the secret chamber in the Tidal Temple's main hall to comprehend the laws?" After some time, "What about you?" Duan Lingtian asked. "I should return in a few days," Ling Jueyun replied. Both of them chatted for a while longer before Duan Lingtian bade farewell to Duan Lingtian and left the primeval heaven through the transportation formation. He returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. It only took 15 minutes for Duan Lingtian to return. When Duan Lingtian returned, he discovered his son, daughter, Li Fei, Feng Tianwu, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold were all holding a brocade box in their hands. "This is..." Duan Lingtian was stunned. "Father, this is a gift from Grandmaster," Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Duan Lingtian smiled. Duan Lingtian could not help but smile wryly when he heard this. He looked at Feng Qingyang, but before he could say anything, Feng Qingyang said, "They're just small trinkets. They're not worth mentioning." Small trinkets? Duan Lingtian didn't believe that something that could make his master give him a gift would be some small toy. They were definitely valuable items. "I'll allocate an area for all of you in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. You can cultivate there and take a stroll around the heavenly palace. It's quite tiring to stay in little Tian's little world, right?" Feng Qingyang said to Duan Rufeng and the others with a smile. Chapter 35-33. Thank you, Brother Feng. Duan Rufeng and Li Ro thanked Duan Rufeng profusely. At the same time, Feng Qingyang looked at Duan Lingtian and said, "There's another successor of the Seven Absolutes sect in your little world, right?" "Yes." Duan Lingtian replied, "It's Xuanai. I've mentioned her to you before, Master. However, Xuanai is currently in closed-door cultivation. I couldn't wake her up when we were in the secret chamber using the law of time. I'll bring her to you when she wakes up, Master." Previously, when they were in the Azura Hell, Han Xuanai had entered a profound state of cultivation. Although Duan Lingtian had tried to wake her up, he could not. Even his divine consciousness voice transmission did not work. Although Duan Lingtian could have forced her to wake up, he did not do so. This was because, based on Han Xuanai's state at that time, if he were to forcefully wake her up, it was very likely that she would suffer from qi deviation or even more terrifying effects. Therefore, under such circumstances, even if he had the opportunity to enter the secret room with the law of time, he still did not wake her up. Apart from that, he had another thought in mind. Even if Xuanai did not enter the secret chamber using the law of time this time, he would have another chance. He was too embarrassed to ask his master, Feng Qingyang. However, he did not hesitate to ask Xuanai since she was also a member of the Seven Absolutes sect when she was in the mundane realm. She could be considered as a junior of his master, Feng Qingyang. In terms of seniority, Xuanai would have to address Feng Qingyang as senior uncle at the very least. "There's no hurry. We can meet at any time." Feng Qingyang smiled. He was genuinely happy that he was able to meet so many members of the Seven Absolutes sect in the Devata realms. After all, he had lived for more than 10,000 years, and the time he spent in the mundane realms had given him the greatest sense of belonging. The Seven Absolutes sect, the Misty Rain Sword Saint. These were the greatest honors of his life. For this reason, even after he ascended to the Devata realms, he still called himself Recluse Yin Yu. Based on this, one could see how deep his feelings for the Seven Absolutes sect were. Duan Lingtian was also aware of this, which was why he was so fearless. "Where is my other disciple's wife?" Feng Qingyang looked at Duan Lingtian mockingly and said with a smile, "Not only did I prepare a gift for Xuanai, but I also prepared a gift for my disciple's wife." Duan Lingtian naturally knew that Feng Qingyang was referring to Huan Er. He smiled awkwardly and said, "She's also in seclusion. When she wakes up, I'll bring her over to greet you." "Yes." Feng Qingyang nodded. He quickly changed the topic and asked, When do you plan to go to the Tidal Temple?" Apart from the exploding element celestial fruit, the first place in the Devata Realm's genius battle would also be given the opportunity to comprehend the laws in the secret room in the Tidal Temple's main hall. Apart from that, the first place would also be given the longest time in the secret room. The lower the ranking, the shorter the time spent in the law chamber. "I'll first break through to the 10 Directions Celestial Emperor Realm and spend some time with my family before I think about it." Duan Lingtian expressed his thoughts. Although he was looking forward to exploring the other secret rooms, he knew it was better to be hasty than to be a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor. He had to become a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor first. Furthermore, he had yet to properly spend time with his family during this reunion. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to properly spend time with his family. In the future, all of them would have to cultivate, and he might not be able to gather all of them. Yes. Feng Qingyang nodded. Whenever you want to go, just let me know. At that time, I will go with you. He had no choice but to go with Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was certain that the Tidal Temple wanted to imprison his disciple, Duan Lingtian, in the Tidal Temple. However, the benefits of the Law Chamber were too great. With him around, his disciple would be much safer. At the very least, if anything happened, he would be able to save his disciple immediately. Thank you, Master. Duan Lingtian thanked Duan Lingtian. He knew the Tidal Temple was like a tiger's den to him. If it were not for his master, he did not know what the Tidal Temple would do to him. Even if they could not make a move on him in the Tidal Temple, they could still make a move on him after he left. Many titled God Emperors were godly spirit realm experts. Even if he became a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor, he would still be no match for the titled God Emperors, let alone the current Duan Lingtian. He was confident that he was as strong as an 8-star god of war after becoming a 10 Directions Celestial Emperor. Feng Qingyang arranged a place for Duan Lingtian's friends and family to stay in a vast mountain range in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. The mountain range surrounded the mountain range, and there were small valleys in the middle. After Duan Lingtian's friends and family arrived here, they basically had their own valleys. For example, Duan Lingtian's parents, Duan Rufeng and Li Ro, were the first to choose a small valley as their residence. There was a ready-made courtyard within the small valley, and the interior and exterior had already been cleaned up. It was the same for the small valleys. It was clear Duan Lingtian had put in a lot of effort. Tian, it seems like your master has long prepared this place for you. Duan Rufeng sighed. Then, he looked at Duan Lingtian solemnly and said, Since Brother Feng has treated you so well, you mustn't let him down. Otherwise, I won't forgive you easily even if I'm your father. Don't worry, father. I know what I'm doing. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. You too. What are you talking about? Li Ro rebuked Duan Rufeng. Don't you know what kind of person our son is? For Big Brother Feng to treat him like this, he will definitely repay him with a gushing spring and not let him down. Mother knows me best. Upon hearing Li Ro's words, Duan Lingtian's smile widened. Meanwhile, Duan Rufeng shook his head helplessly as he sighed. A kind mother makes a bad son. A kind mother makes a bad son. Father, mother, I'll go and see them. After bidding farewell to Duan Rufeng and Li Ro, Duan Lingtian went to another small valley. His wife, Li Fei, daughter, Feng Tianwu, were waiting for him. The valleys that his master, Feng Qingyang, had prepared for him were spacious with many rooms. Therefore, it was not too crowded when Li Fei, Duan Lingtian, and Duan Lingtian moved in. As for Duan Lingtian's son, Duan Lingtian, he planned to stay with Duan Lingtian. Father, where are you staying? I'll stay with you. Duan Lingtian smiled at his son who was looking at him with admiration. Come with me to look for your grandfather Feng. I'll stay with all of you from now on. The grandfather Feng that Duan Lingtian mentioned was none other than Feng Tianwu's father, Feng Wu Dao. During this time, Duan Lingtian brought Huan and Duan Lingtian's parents to stay in a quiet valley. Ever since Lian Xiao and Du Xian returned from the Saint Province realm, they had been staying in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Duan Lingtian arranged for them to stay in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Where's Huan? However, they missed their daughter more than they did. Huan is in closed-door cultivation. I'll bring her to see you when she comes out. Duan Lingtian said with a smile on his face. After settling Du Xian and her husband down, Duan Lingtian began to set up chain formations that shrouded the residences of his friends and family. With his residence as the center, he began to channel the heaven and earth spirit energy to his friends and family. To be more precise, he was channeling the heaven and earth spirit energy from his little world. With this, as long as he stayed in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, His family and friends would be able to enjoy the cleansing of the heaven and earth spirit energy. With this, their cultivation would be much easier. Naturally, Duan Lingtian did not remain idle. He consumed the exploding element celestial fruit and began to focus on his cultivation. His cultivation base was rising with every passing moment. He was getting closer and closer to becoming a 10-direction celestial emperor. I'll become a 10-direction celestial emperor before I turn 700 years old. Then, I'll try to break through to the godly spirit stage. After I become a god, I'll have to work hard to improve my strength. If I'm just an ordinary god after 300 years, I won't be able to bring Kur away even if I go to the divine offering land. Duan Lingtian knew this very well. In the past, Duan Lingtian did not know much about godly beings. He thought he would be able to rescue Ku after he had ascended to godhood when the spatial tunnel between the realms of gods and the Devata realms opened. However, the more he learned about gods, the more he realized how insignificant he was. In the realms of gods, ordinary gods were nothing at all. In the realms of gods, gods and god-kings are as common as dogs. Duan Lingtian had heard his master, Feng Qingyang, mention this before. Although there were many celestials in the realms of gods, most of them were natives of the realms of gods. As long as one's innate talent was not too bad, it was only a matter of time before one became a god. Time flew by as one cultivated. When Duan Lingtian successfully broke through the bottleneck of the 9 Palaces Celestial Emperor and became a 10-direction Celestial Emperor, a year had passed. Naturally, a year was nothing to Duan Lingtian. During this time, Duan Lingtian did not spend all his time cultivating. Instead, he would spend time with his parents and his wife, Li Fei. He would also visit Feng Wu Dao and the 3 little ones for a chat. Meanwhile, the 3 little ones were standing in a small valley next to Duan Lingtian's. It's about time. Now that Duan Lingtian had become a 10-direction celestial emperor, even if he did not attack, the vast celestial origin energy that flowed in his body and the rhythm of the law he had comprehended made her feel as though her strength had improved tremendously. Master. At this moment, Duan Lingtian sent a message to his master, Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Are you free during this time? I'm planning to go to the titled God Emperor realm to receive my reward from the battle of the geniuses in the Devata realms. When do you plan to depart? Feng Qingyang's reply was very straightforward. Moreover, he indirectly stated that he was free these days. Chapter 35-34. The Tidal Temple's main hall was not located in any Devata realm. It was located in an independent realm. Naturally, the heaven and earth spirit energy in this realm was only comparable to the most abundant heaven and earth spirit energy in the Devata realms. It was far from comparable to the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realm of gods. Rumor has it that the realm where the Tidal Temple's main hall is located was created by the creator of the Tidal Temple. Some say he's a supreme powerhouse. Others say he's a godly venerable. In order to travel to the Tidal Temple's main hall, one had to go to one of the Tidal Temple's branches in the Devata realms. At this moment, Feng Qingyang, who was traveling with Duan Lingtian to the Tidal Temple's main hall, told Duan Lingtian about the Tidal Temple's main hall. I heard the creator of the Tidal Temple is a supreme powerhouse, Duan Lingtian said. Duan Lingtian said, even the world-cleansing divine water, the most knowledgeable of the 5 divine elements in his little world, had said the same thing. Then, he must be a supreme powerhouse. Feng Qingyang nodded. If he's a supreme expert, he shouldn't be able to occupy a spot in a realm of gods and create a new realm of gods. The number of realms of gods in this world had always been fixed. There would never be an increase or decrease in the number of realms of gods. Naturally, this did not mean the realms of gods would remain the same. There would always be new realms of gods that would appear. However, the appearance of a new realm of gods meant that an old realm of gods was about to disappear. For example, the ruins of the realm of gods that Duan Lingtian had visited previously was a realm of gods that had once flourished. However, due to the destruction of the realm of gods had fallen. Every time a realm of gods fell, there would be millions of corpses, including god emperors and godly venerables. Generally, the fall of a realm of gods meant the death of the supreme powerhouse who created the realm of gods. After all, the realm of gods would only fall after the supreme powerhouse died. As long as the supreme powerhouse was alive, the realm of gods would not fall because the realm of gods was closely connected to the supreme powerhouse's little world. This is very obvious. Duan Lingtian agreed with Feng Qingyang's words. If a supreme expert was strong enough to create a divine plane, there was no need for him to create a force like the Tidal Temple. Although the Tidal Temple had a lofty status in the Devata realms, it was nothing in the realms of gods. This was apparent based on the way Su Konghai, the vice palace master of the Tidal Temple, treated Ling Juan during the Battle of the Geniuses. We're here. Soon after, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang arrived at the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven. It was similar to the Tidal Temple's branch in another Devata realm that Duan Lingtian had visited before. The two of them hovered in the air outside the Tidal Temple's branch. They did not land outside the Tidal Temple's branch and enter in an orderly manner. Those people were here to obtain their titles. Some of them were here to obtain their titles as titled Celestial Lords or titled Celestial Emperors. Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang's arrival attracted some people's attention. After all, they were standing in the air outside the Tidal Temple and looking down at the Tidal Temple. Who are they? Aren't you afraid of angering the Tidal Temple by acting like this in the Tidal Temple? Aren't they too arrogant? At this moment, a burly man with a curly beard flew up to Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang in just a blink of an eye. He said, "Gentlemen, it's best if you come down. Don't stand too high up in the air. If the Tidal Temple blasphemes you, things won't be as simple as it seems." It's said that the people from the Tidal Temple are ruthless. The burly man with a curly beard advised, "Thank you for the reminder." Feng Qingyang looked at the burly man with a faint smile on his face. He did not seem arrogant at all as a heavenly emperor of a Devata realm. Duan Lingtian looked at the burly man with a friendly smile on his face. Earlier, Duan Lingtian had sent his voice transmission to the Tidal Temple to greet the people from the Tidal Temple. It would not take long before someone from the Tidal Temple would lead them to the Tidal Temple's main branch. They would have to pass through the Tidal Temple's branch to reach the Tidal Temple's main hall. Otherwise, they would not know how to reach the main hall. Both of you. The burly man with a curly beard was rendered speechless when he saw Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were still hovering in the air and looking down at the Tidal Temple even though they had responded to him. Didn't I remind these two fellows? Why aren't they coming down? Are they seeking death? The burly man with a curly beard and the others thought Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were seeking death. At this moment, a few figures flew out of the Tidal Temple. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man with a medium build and an ordinary appearance. He was dressed in a long black robe and had a gloomy expression on his face. He was none other than Yiya, the palace master of the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven. Duan Lingtian had seen Yiya during the Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses, so he recognized Yiya immediately. As the palace master of a Tidal Temple, Yiya actually came out personally? That's right. I've said that master came with me because he didn't look at me. Since he's the palace master of the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven, it's only right for him to come out and welcome us. Duan Lingtian felt relieved when he thought about this. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's gaze landed behind Yiya. Two old men and an old woman were standing behind Yiya. The two old men and the old woman were dressed in black robes as well. As soon as the four of them appeared, their auras shrouded the hearts of the people outside the Tidal Temple's branch, even though they did not deliberately reveal their auras. The burly man with a curly beard, who had warned Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang, hastily descended from the sky. The burly man with a curly beard sighed inwardly when he saw the four burly men charging toward the two young men. It's over. It's over. These two young men are doomed. In his opinion, the burly man with a curly beard thought the two young men had extraordinary auras and seemed to be disciples of sects or clans with extraordinary backgrounds. However, in the solitary destructive heaven, apart from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, there was no other force that could go against the Tidal Temple. They're doomed. The people of the Tidal Temple will not allow anyone to look down on the Tidal Temple and blaspheme it. The group of people looked at Duan Ling Tian and Feng Qingyang from afar. All of them felt unlucky. However, in the next moment, the scene before them caused them to be completely dumbfounded. When the four people who flew out of the tidal temple arrived in front of the two unlucky young men, they cupped their fists together and greeted them politely. Wind Heavenly Emperor, we meet again. Yi Ya, the hall master of the tidal temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven, greeted Feng Qingyang warmly with a smile on his face. Hall Master Yi Ya. Feng Qingyang nodded in response to Yi Ya. At the same time, Yi Ya looked at Duan Ling Tian, who was standing next to Feng Qingyang, and said, Young Master, we meet again. Are you planning to go to the tidal temple's main hall to obtain the reward from the Battle of the Geniuses and enter the secret room? Yi Ya addressed Duan Ling Tian as the young master of the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven because he was the only true disciple of Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. I've been waiting for a long time, Yi Ya said with a smile. At the same time, the two old men and an old woman behind Yi Ya stepped forward and bowed at Feng Qingyang as they greeted him, Lord Heavenly Emperor. Then, they introduced themselves as the Vice Hall Masters of the Tidal Temple's branch in the solitary destructive heaven. Wind Heavenly Emperor, young master, please come in. Under Yi Ya's lead, Duan Ling Tian and Feng Qingyang entered the Tidal Temple. The two old men and the old woman followed closely behind Yi Ya's group. The people outside the Tidal Temple only regained their senses after Yi Ya's group disappeared from their sight. Although they were quite a distance away, they were still able to hear the conversation clearly with their hearing. It was precisely because of this that many people gasped when they came back to their senses. Many of them looked at Yi Ya's group with a fervent expression on their faces. Is that the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven? No wonder I thought he looked familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. I've seen a portrait of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven before. That person looks exactly like the person in the portrait. However, the real person is much more charming than the portrait. For this reason, I couldn't recognize him at first. I didn't expect to meet the heavenly emperor in my lifetime. Also, did the heavenly emperor address the black-clad middle-aged man as the hall master of the Night Crow Palace? Isn't Yi Ya the hall master of the tidal temple in the solitary destructive heaven? As expected of the legendary heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. He's the invincible sword celestial. No, I should say the invincible sword god now. Even the hall master of the Night Crow Palace personally came out to welcome him. It's said that the hall master of the Night Crow Palace is a 9-star god of war, a quasi-god. The purple-clad young man next to the heavenly emperor is addressed as the young master by the hall master of the Night Crow Palace. He must be the true disciple the heavenly emperor accepted 100 years ago. His name is Duan Ling Tian, the pride of the solitary destructive heaven. Duan Ling Tian is the champion of the recent Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses. He defeated 2 6-star gods of war in the Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses. The Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses had ended a long time ago. News of what happened during the Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses began to spread. Currently, in the solitary destructive heaven, almost everyone knew that the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven had an outstanding true disciple named Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian was widely acknowledged as the strongest person among the younger generation in the Devata realms. Chapter 35-35. The strongest person in the Devata realms. This was undoubtedly a great honor. In the past 1,000 years, there was only one person who had won the first place in the Devata Realms Battle of Geniuses 2 years ago. It was only natural that Duan Ling Tian, who had won first place in the Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses not long ago, receive this honor. Moreover, this honor would accompany him for 1,000 years until the next Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses. In fact, if the winner of the next Devata Realm Battle of Geniuses was not as outstanding as Duan Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian would continue to be recognized as the strongest person among the younger generation in the Devata Realm Battle of Geniuses. In the Devata Realms, those below the age of 3,000 were considered to be in the younger generation. Many people felt that in the next 2,000 years, Duan Ling Tian, the only true disciple of Feng Qingyang, the legendary heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, would remain the strongest person in the Devata realms. Because he was too dazzling, too outstanding. He was not even 700 years old, but he was already a 7-star god of war. After consuming the exploding element celestial fruit, he would definitely become a 10-direction celestial emperor in just a few years. It's said that if this disciple of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven becomes a 10-direction celestial emperor, he'll possess the strength of an 8-star god of war. This is something that the higher-ups of the tidal temple personally approved of. After Duanling Tian and the others disappeared from the entrance of the tidal temple's branch in solitary destructive heaven, someone said, a top-notch 8-star war god who was not even 700 years old? Everyone was petrified. As it turns out, one of them is the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, and the other is the heavenly emperor's disciple. The curly-bearded man, who had previously advised Duanling Tian and Feng Qingyang, was also embarrassed and blushing when he came back to his senses. He never thought that the two young men he was worried about would have such a great background. At this moment, even he himself felt that his actions just now were laughable and childish. So what if the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven looked down on the tidal temple's branches? Was he not qualified? Duanling Tian and Feng Qingyang followed Yiya, the hall master of the tidal temple of solitary destructive heaven's sub-hall. Yiya welcomed them warmly in the main hall of the sub-hall. He treated them as guests of honor. Feng Tiandi, are you planning to go to the tidal temple's main palace with the young palace master? Yiya looked at Feng Qingyang and asked straightforwardly.
Yes.
Feng Qingyang nodded. As far as I know, there's no rule in the tidal temple that prohibits seniors from accompanying their disciples to the Devata realm's battle of the geniuses, right? That's not true. Night Crow shook his head. I'm just asking. If Heavenly Emperor Feng wants to go with young Palace Master, the tidal temple will welcome you with open arms. At that time, even Lord Temple Master will welcome you personally. Duanling Tian knew Yiya was referring to the hall master of the tidal temple. Before he came here, his master, Feng Qingyang, had told him that the palace master of the main hall of the tidal temple was most likely a god king. His strength was so great that he could easily defeat all the powerhouses in the Devata realms. Feng Tiandi, young palace master, please wait here for a moment. I'll contact the main palace and ask them to open a portal so I can send you over. After bidding farewell to Duanling Tian and Duanling Tian, Yiya left. After Yiya left, he contacted the tidal temple's main palace master, Su Konghai, who had presided over the Devata realm's battle of the geniuses not long ago. Vice Hall Master Su, it's just as you've guessed. Feng Qingyang intends to go to the main palace with Duanling Tian. There's no need to guess. Su Konghai was not surprised by Yiya's words. Duanling Tian has already displayed his mastery of the 4 Tao of heaven and earth during the battle of the geniuses. First, it was the Space Sword Tao, and then it was the Space Sword Tao. Based on the tidal temple's thirst for talented individuals who have mastered the 4 Tao of heaven and earth, it's only natural that they won't allow Duanling Tian to come to the main palace alone. Su Konghai's tone was calm when he said Duanling Tian would be like a lamb in a tiger's den if he went to the tidal temple's main palace. If he wants to come with us, let him come with us. This is a good opportunity to test the strength of the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Su Konghai said. What should I do now? Yiya asked. There's no need for you to do anything. I'll personally bring them to the main palace to show them how much we value the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Su Konghai emphasized the words heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Understood. Yiya replied respectfully before he cut off the communication between Yiya and Su Konghai. It was a complicated communication formation that could only be used in the tidal temple and the main temple. The communication formation could only be used in the tidal temple's main temple and the main temple's main temple. The communication formation could be used to send messages across realms. Yiya was in the solitary destructive heaven, one of the 81 Devata realms, while Su Konghai was in the tidal temple's independent realm. The communication formation could leave a mark on each person. For example, Yiya had activated Su Konghai's imprint in the main palace's communication formation through the tidal temple's branch palaces. He had contacted Su Konghai through the communication formation in the tidal temple's main palace. Should I inform Pavilion Master Rulai of the Yellow Origin Heaven sub-palace? After cutting off the communication with Yiya, Su Konghai, who was in the tidal temple's main palace, frowned slightly as though he had recalled something. Previously, after the Devata Realms battle of the geniuses had ended, Rulai had come looking for him. If the main palace was not confident they could capture Duan Lingtian, he could come to the main palace and work with them to figure out a way to capture Duan Lingtian. Truth be told, this was not his first time meeting Rulai during the Devata Realms battle of the geniuses. In the past, when Tathagata was not yet a god, he had seen Tathagata once. At that time, the feeling that Tathagata gave him was completely different from the Tathagata he had seen the last time. Naturally, he thought Rulai's change was due to Rulai's change. Rulai's temperament had changed because he had become a god. After all, it was not strange for some people to change after they became gods. There were many similar records in the tidal temple's main palace's history. Forget it. I should inform him. Since Feng Qingyang came with Duan Lingtian, the main palace is not confident they can capture Duan Lingtian. With this thought in mind, Su Konghai contacted Rulai, the palace master of the tidal temple in the Yellow Origin Heaven. In other words, Rulai was referring to Yahiko. Naturally, Su Konghai did not know Rulai was actually Yahiko. Rulai was not human. He was from the Dead Spirit clan in the Undead World, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata Realms. Duan Lingtian is heading to the tidal temple's main palace now? After receiving Su Konghai's message, the Tathagata, who is also Master Yahiko, suddenly brightened up. When are you coming over? Su Konghai asked without beating around the bush. Vice Palace Master Su, it just so happens that I have some matters to attend to recently. I'll finish them in the shortest time possible and head to the main palace before Duan Lingtian leaves. During this period of time, I'll think of a way so that I'll have a plan before I head to the main palace. Yahiko replied to Su Konghai. Meanwhile, Su Konghai frowned. He thought Rulai was unreliable. Why did he have something to attend to? For a moment, Su Konghai did not have much hope for him. After a faint response, he cut off the communication. After Su Konghai cut off the communication, Yahiko did the same and left the tidal temple's branch in the Yellow Origin Heaven. This day has finally come. I'll return to the undead world and ask for Big Brother's help. This time, no matter what, I'll possess Duan Lingtian. I'll take over his body and everything about him. Yahiko's eyes burned with passion as he left the tidal temple's branch in the Yellow Origin Heaven. It was as though he could already see himself successfully possessing Duan Lingtian. Yahiko was a member of the Dead Spirit clan. The Dead Spirit clan was a clan rooted in the undead world. Before they became gods, they could not leave the undead world. Yahiko's bloodline was the purest in the Dead Spirit clan. He was considered a direct descendant. The current patriarch of the Dead Spirit clan was his big brother, a god king expert. Like him, his big brother had yearned for the outside world since he was young. However, since he was the successor of the patriarch, he could only dream about it. Later on, when he became the patriarch of the Dead Spirit clan, it became even more impossible for him to leave the undead world. I hope Big Brother is willing to help me. Yahiko prayed in his heart as he made his way back to the undead world. Although he had mentioned his big brother, the patriarch of the Dead Spirit clan, at the primordial precipice in the heavenly palace of the primordial heaven, he knew the chances of his big brother leaving the Dead Spirit clan to avenge him were slim. Also, without anyone informing them, the Dead Spirit race might not have known that he had been killed, given their lack of information. This time, he had personally returned to the undead world and the Dead Spirit clan to seek help from his big brother. However, he was not confident he would be able to avenge Duan Lingtian, so he could only try his best to convince his big brother to help him. With his big brother's strength, if his big brother agreed to help him, he would be able to possess Duan Lingtian's body. The undead world was one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. Naturally, the undead world was one of the top 3 deadliest places in the Devata realms. Many powerful titled celestial emperors would enter the undead world in groups to search for treasures in the undead world. In the undead world, it was even more likely that they would be able to hunt for emperor-grade celestial weapons. Chapter 35-36. Of course, although many people dared to enter the undead world, they only dared to wander around the periphery and did not dare to go deep. This was because once they went deep, they would enter the territory of the natives of the undead world. Once they entered the territory of the natives and were discovered, they would most likely die, even if they were immortals. If they accidentally entered the territory of some powerful natives of the undead world, even godly kings and godly emperors would not survive, let alone immortals. In the undead world, there was no lack of godly emperors. As for godly venerables, no one knew if there were any. There might be, and there might not be. In fact, the dead spirit clan that Master Yahiko belonged to was just an inferior clan in the undead world. The most powerful person in the clan was only a godly king. First, they were limited by their talent. Second, they were limited by their soul. In the history of the dead spirit clan, the most powerful person was an upper-level celestial king. There had never been an immortal lord. Of course, to be more precise, the upper limit of a dead spirit clan member who did not possess a physical body was an upper-level celestial king. It was impossible for them to break through to the immortal lord level. In the history of the dead spirit clan, there were a few dead spirit clan members who possessed physical bodies and broke through to the immortal lord level. However, these people were usually not seen as members of the dead spirit clan. The dead spirit clan had a rule that anyone who possessed a physical body, regardless of whether it was a human body, a demonic beast body, or any other life form, would be expelled from the dead spirit clan. This was the highest rule of the dead spirit clan, and it had been so for countless years. The reason why there was such a rule was because any dead spirit clansman who possessed a corporeal body could use the body as a medium to devour other dead spirit clansmen and strengthen themselves. When that day came, it would be a catastrophe for the dead spirit clan. In the history of the dead spirit clan, there had been such a catastrophe. That catastrophe had almost wiped out the entire dead spirit clan. In the end, the Grand Elder of the dead spirit clan had sacrificed himself to lure the dead spirit clan's treasure to kill the dead spirit clan member who possessed a physical body. This allowed the dead spirit clan to survive. It was also from that time that the dead spirit clan became very sensitive to the dead spirit clan members possessing physical bodies. Occasionally, some dead spirit clansmen would do that, but once they were discovered, they would be executed. Unless they left the netherworld. Even if he left the netherworld, if the Ghost Clan found out that someone of the same race had possessed a physical body, he would be hunted down by the Ghost Clan. Because of this, after possessing Tathagata's body, Yahiko never returned to the Ghost Clan. This was because he knew that once the news of him possessing a human's body spread to the dead spirit tribe, they would never let him go. Even this time, he did not return to the dead spirit clan to seek help from the dead spirit clan. Instead, he went to seek help from his big brother. The current chief of the dead spirit race was his big brother. With his relationship with his big brother, he was sure that his big brother wouldn't betray him and wouldn't tell the other dead spirit clansmen that he had possessed a human body. Once the news spread, not only would he be hunted down by the entire dead spirit race, even his big brother would be affected. Not only would he no longer be the patriarch of the dead spirit race, but he would also be implicated by him. In the worst case, he would be killed, and in the worst case, he would be expelled from the dead spirit race. In the dead spirit race, the person with the most power was the patriarch. However, the true expert and pillar of the dead spirit clan was the supreme elder, who held the supreme treasure of the dead spirit clan. He was also the strongest expert of the dead spirit clan, and his cultivation had reached the peak of the upper divine king level. Big brother. After returning to the netherworld, Yahiko familiarly passed through the worts of the netherworld and arrived near the dead spirit race's territory. He immediately sent a message to his big brother, Mishien. The dead spirit race did not need to use soul orbs to communicate with each other. Within a certain distance, they could communicate directly through soul resonance. The principle was similar to the radio stations on Earth where Duan Lingtian lived in his previous life. As long as the channel was correct, they could communicate. Little brother Yin? After receiving Yahiko's message, the dead spirit race's patriarch, Mi Xian, who was in the dead spirit race's territory, suddenly trembled with a wisp of green humanoid energy. This was a sign that the dead spirit clansmen were agitated. Where have you been? Why have you been gone for so many years? Why haven't you come to see me? Why are you still outside the dead spirit race's territory? Through the message, Mi Xian could confirm Yahiko's approximate location. When he asked, his voice was still agitated. After all, he only had one disciple. Although the dead spirit race's method of reproduction was different from that of humans, Yahiko had awakened his consciousness at the same time as him. According to the dead spirit race, they were blood brothers, just like how humans and Yao beasts had the same father and mother. It was due to this that Mi Xian had special feelings for his younger brother. Big brother, please come out for a moment. If I enter the race, the Grand Elder will definitely discover me. Once the Grand Elder discovers my current situation, he will definitely act and kill me immediately. Master Yahiko said with a sigh. Almost as soon as Yahiko finished speaking, the dead spirit race patriarch, Mi Xian's energy body trembled violently again, as if he would be blown away by the wind at any moment. Did you take over another life form's body? When Mi Xian spoke again, his voice was trembling. Taking over another life form's body was a great taboo of the dead spirit race. It was punishable by death. If any other dead spirit race clansman dared to do such a thing, as the patriarch of the dead spirit race, he would definitely follow the rules of the dead spirit race and destroy them. But now, this was his little brother, his blood brother. In the face of Mi Xian's question, Yahiko chose to remain silent. However, Mi Xian's body trembled, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared from the spot. His speed had reached an astonishing level. Whoosh! A moment later, Mi Xian appeared in front of Yahiko. When he saw Yahiko's current state, he trembled even more. Fool! Fool! You fool! Mi Xian's voice trembled, his tone filled with resentment. You left the dead spirit race, left the netherworld, and wanted to see the outside world. I didn't stop you. I didn't care about you. But what have you done now? You've taken over a human's body. You should know, and there's no way you don't. The dead spirit race's greatest taboo, the first commandment, is not to take over another life form's physical body. This is because once you take over a physical body, you can devour your own clansmen to increase your strength and increase your comprehension of the laws. Back then, the dead spirit race was almost wiped out because of this. Why did you come back? Why did you come back? Are you tired of living? Are you tired of living? Mi Xian raged. Big brother. Facing Mi Xian's scolding, Yahiko didn't speak from beginning to end. Finally, he knelt down on the ground and said, I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I possessed this person's body for a reason. If I hadn't taken over his body, I would have been killed by him. To protect myself, I had to take over his body. If it were you, big brother, in the same situation, on the brink of death, would you ask for death or take over a human's body to survive? Yahiko lowered his head and said hoarsely. Of course, what he said was a lie. When he'd met Tathagata, Tathagata hadn't yet been a god, and he'd already been one. Tathagata hadn't had the power to kill him. From start to finish, he'd made all the decisions himself. Whether it was taking over Tathagata's body or everything else he'd done afterward, it had all been his own decision. No one had influenced or forced him. He'd said this to play the emotional card, so that his elder brother wouldn't blame him. He wanted his elder brother to leave the dead spirit race in the netherworld with him to help him take over the human called Duanlingtian. Since that's the case, you shouldn't have come back. When Mi Xian spoke again, his voice was much gentler and less aggressive than before. You didn't have to come back. You could have sent someone to send me a message. If I wanted to see you, I could have gone out to see you. It's too dangerous for you to appear here. It's too risky. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, Mi Xian's figure flickered, and he took Yahiko with him. Like a gust of wind, they left the Dead Spirit Clan's encampment and only stopped when they were quite a distance away from the Dead Spirit Clan. Big brother. You've broken through to Intermediate God King? Yahiko looked at Mi Xian in pleasant surprise. His eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. He felt that he'd made the right choice in coming back. Now that his elder brother had become an Intermediate God King, he was more confident in taking over Duanlingtian's body. Yes, I broke through some time ago. Mi Xian nodded and said in a low voice, if you want to see me in the future, don't come in person. I can go out to see you. If the venerated elder learns that you've taken over a human's body, he'll definitely punish you personally. Do you understand? Mi Xian's tone left no room for doubt. I understand, big brother. Yahiko replied quickly. Tell me, why did you take the risk to come back to see me? After all, Mi Xian was a member of the dead spirit race who had been born together with honored Master Yahiko and had grown up together with him. Mi Xian knew his disciple better than anyone else. For him to take such a risk to come find him, there must be something. It was impossible for him to have nothing to do with Mi Xian. Big brother. Yahiko smiled awkwardly before he explained. I can't completely take over the current body, so I want to take over a new body. The new body I'm interested in is less than 700 years old, but he's already a 10-direction celestial emperor. He has mastered the space sword Dao and the destruction sword Dao of the 4 Daos of heaven and earth. Moreover, his attainments in the law of space are high. Chapter 35-37. Little brother Yin, since you haven't fully possessed this body, there's still a way out. As long as you give up this body, you'll still be a member of the dead spirit clan. Mi Xian's eyes lit up when he heard Lord Yahiko's words. Earlier, Mi Xian had thought that there was no turning back for his brother. Once he fully possessed the body, he would not be able to escape unscathed. Even if he managed to escape, he would have to possess another body. This was a characteristic of the dead spirit clan. They would either not possess a physical body, or once they succeeded, they would have to possess another body in the future. Otherwise, it would not take long for them to be reduced to ashes. However, if they failed to possess a physical body, they would be able to escape unscathed. Lord Yahiko's expression froze when he heard this. He finally realized that the emotional card he had played earlier meant that he would be forced to possess his current body. Big brother. At this point, Lord Yahiko no longer tried to hide anything. I'll tell you the truth. There's no turning back for me. I've gotten used to the human body. I like the human body. I don't want to live the life of a dead spirit like before. I want to enjoy everything a human can enjoy. Moreover, if I can successfully possess that new body, given the potential of that new body, my limits in the future will not be limited to the level of high divine king like the members of the ghost race. At that time, I'll be able to break through to the level of a divine emperor or even a god emperor. With the body's talent, it's not impossible for me to become a godly venerable in the future. I might even have a chance to become a paramount expert. A paramount expert is someone who stands at the pinnacle of this world. We, the Spectre clan, are merely an inferior race in the netherworld, let alone in this world, which includes the various planes of gods. Big brother, do you understand me? Lord Yahiko looked at Mi Xian with an impassioned expression. Don't worry. I can guarantee you that even if I possess that person, I won't return to the dead spirit clan in the future. Although Lord Yahiko said that, he had other thoughts in his mind. Once he had enough strength, he would definitely return to the dead spirit clan and devour the souls to increase his strength. That was because it was a shortcut for him to increase his strength after he possessed the body of a human. Of the dead spirit clan, the only one he had feelings for was his big brother before him. In the future, other than his big brother, he would not spare the rest of the dead spirit clansmen. Standing at the peak of this world, hearing Master Mi Yan's words, Mi Xian was clearly frightened. He didn't expect his disciple to have such lofty ambitions. At this moment, he didn't even know how to refute his younger brother. Asking him to turn back, wouldn't that be cutting off his future? Are you sure that the body you're about to possess has that kind of potential? Mi Xian asked with a serious expression. You should know that the dead soul race only has one chance to completely possess a life. Once we use this chance, we can only possess the body in the future. We cannot possess anything else in that body. Big brother, I know this. Naturally, I won't use that chance recklessly. Lord Yahiko said confidently. He was very confident in the body of the young man called Duan Lingtian. Once he completely possessed him, with his foundation, his cultivation speed would be faster than the young man's. Big brother, help me just this once. Lord Yahiko continued to persuade him. Just this once. In the future, I won't trouble you anymore. Lord Yahiko continued to persuade him, even bringing up some of the past between him and Mi Xian, including how he had once saved Mi Xian's life. Being brought up again, Mi Xian's emotions became restless again, but he finally agreed. All right, I'll go with you. Wait for me here. After I return to the clan and settle some matters, I'll come find you and leave the netherworld with you. I'll help you obtain the body you want. After bidding farewell to Lord Yahiko, Mi Xian left. After receiving Mi Xian's agreement, Lord Yahiko's eyes lit up like the bright stars in the night sky, dazzling and dazzling. Duan Lingtian was, naturally, unaware of what was happening in the netherworld. Currently, he and his master, Feng Qingyang, were waiting in the Tidal Temple's sub-temple of the solitary destructive heaven when they finally met Su Konghai, the Vice Palace Master of the Tidal Temple. Vice Palace Master Su. Duan Lingtian was slightly surprised to see Su Konghai again. However, Feng Qingyang remained calm as though he was not surprised at all. Wind Heavenly Emperor, Duan Lingtian, I'm here to bring you to the Tidal Temple's main temple. Unlike the solemn expression he had during the Devata Realm's Battle of the Geniuses, Su Konghai had a polite smile on his face when he spoke to Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang. Thank you for your trouble, Vice Palace Master Su. Feng Qingyang nodded. He was not as casual as he was when he was with Duan Lingtian. Naturally, Feng Qingyang did not do this on purpose. It was just that he was used to being like this. He was different in front of Duan Lingtian because Duan Lingtian was his only true disciple. As for the others, they were nothing in Feng Qingyang's eyes. Even if the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple was here, he would still act the same, let alone the Vice Hall Master of the Tidal Temple. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With Su Konghai leading the way, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang were transported to the main temple of the Tidal Temple through the transporting formation in the solitary destructive heaven sub-temple's main temple. The heaven and earth spirit energy in this realm was very rich. It was comparable to the heaven and earth spirit energy in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Most importantly, the heaven and earth spirit energy was everywhere. At the very least, Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang had never been to a place where the heaven and earth spirit energy was thinner when they traveled with Su Konghai. Duan Lingtian, the secret chamber of laws, is an important place in the main temple of the Tidal Temple. Although I'm the Vice Palace Master of the Tidal Temple, I still have to go through some procedures if I want to lead you into the secret chamber of laws. Su Konghai said to Duan Lingtian, who had also come to a halt when they arrived in front of a palace that occupied a vast area. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. He was not surprised by this. After all, the secret chamber of laws was one of the most important places in the Tidal Temple. It was only natural that there were many rules. Wind Heavenly Emperor, do you want to come with us? Or do you want me to arrange a place for you to rest? Su Konghai asked as he looked at Feng Qingyang. Upon hearing this, Feng Qingyang looked at Su Konghai meaningfully before he said, I'm fine with anything. In that case, I'll lead you to a place for you to rest. Su Konghai smiled faintly as though he did not see Feng Qingyang's meaningful gaze. Then, he sent a message to someone. After a dozen breaths, a figure appeared at lightning speed. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a dark green robe. His appearance was ordinary, and his build was average. However, he exuded a terrifying murderous aura. It was clear he was not a simple person. Elder Luo, this is the Heavenly Emperor of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. The Heavenly Emperor of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. Bring him to the courtyards in the Tidal Temple. He can choose any courtyard he wants, Su Konghai said. Yes, Vice Palace Master. Then, he looked at Feng Qingyang and said in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing, Heavenly Emperor Feng, please follow me. Thank you. Feng Qingyang nodded before he left with the middle-aged man. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian followed Su Konghai to the Tidal Temple. Duan Lingtian remained calm as he followed Su Konghai to the Tidal Temple. He did not seem worried at all. Although his master, Feng Qingyang, was not with him, it was a fact that he was in the Tidal Temple. If the Tidal Temple wanted to do anything to him, they would have to consider his master first. After all, even the Tidal Temple would not be willing to bear the wrath of a god. Moreover, his master's clone was only here with the law of Earth. Even if his master stayed here, he could still exact revenge on the Tidal Temple. If the Tidal Temple wanted to do anything to him, they would have to consider the consequences. Moreover, the title temple might not know his master's true strength, but he knew his master could break through to the God King stage at any time and become a God King who was above the gods. For this reason, he was not worried at all. Along the way, Su Konghai did not do anything suspicious. After he led Duan Lingtian through the title temple, he asked, Duan Lingtian, do you plan to stay with the Heavenly Emperor for a few days before entering the title temple, or do you plan to enter the title temple now? I'll enter now, Duan Lingtian replied without any hesitation. The sooner he finished his business, the sooner he could leave. All right, Su Konghai nodded. As the winner of the Devata Realms Battle of Geniuses, you'll be able to stay in the title temple for the longest time. Since you're the winner, you can choose 2 title temples. However, you'll still have to stay in the title temple for 3 months. Su Konghai paused for a moment before he added, well, the title temple only has title temples that contain the laws of the 5 elements. Duan Lingtian had long known about this, so he was not surprised. Which 2 title temples do you plan to choose? Su Konghai asked again. Duan Lingtian did not hesitate when he heard Su Konghai's question. He said bluntly, I'll choose the title temple for the law of fire and the title temple for the law of earth. Whether it was the law of fire or the law of earth, Duan Lingtian had studied them for a while, so he had a good understanding of them. Moreover, his master, Feng Qingyang, was also skilled in the law of earth. His master could give him a lot of pointers when it came to the law of earth. Chapter 35-38. Before coming into contact with the law of space, Duan Lingtian's forte was the law of fire. For this reason, apart from the secret room that contained the law of earth, he would enter the secret room that contained the law of fire as well. Due to the limited time, he was confident he would be able to master the 2 profundities within 3 months. Of course, during these 3 months, while mastering all the profundities of these 2 laws, if he had free time, he would continue to meditate and comprehend the fusion of the profundities of these 2 laws. Once you've made your decision, you can't change it. Are you sure? Are you sure about the secret rooms that contain the law of fire and the law of earth? Su Konghai asked again. I'm sure. Duan Lingtian nodded. He had already made up his mind before he came here. There was no need for him to change it. After obtaining Duan Lingtian's confirmation, Su Konghai brought Duan Lingtian to the secret rooms in the Title Temple's main hall. The secret rooms in the Title Temple's main hall were protected by layers of formations. If one had not been here before, one would not be able to discover anything even if they used their divine consciousness. This was because the secret rooms were too well hidden. There were many concealment formations and other formations set up in the secret rooms. There are only 5 secret rooms in the Title Temple, and they correspond to the laws of the 5 elements. Currently, a disciple of the Title Temple is meditating in the secret room that contained the law of earth. You can enter the secret room that contained the law of fire first. He'll come out in a month at most. It won't affect you when you enter the secret room that contained the law of earth later. Su Konghai said to Duan Lingtian. At the same time, he brought Duan Lingtian to the 5 secret rooms in the Title Temple. The 5 secret rooms were located on a high platform in 5 different directions. The high platform looked more like an altar. It was covered with complicated veins and diagrams. If one looked at it, one would feel dazzled. If one used their divine consciousness to look at it, it would cause one to fall into a daze. The secret rooms in the Title Temple seemed to be created by the powerhouse who founded the Title Temple. Sister Shui said only supreme powerhouses have the ability to create secret rooms. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as his heart skipped a beat. Of the 5 law chambers in front of him, any one of them looked simple and unadorned. Unlike the law of time chambers left behind in the land of inheritance that his master had brought him to, they were as resplendent as palaces. You can arrange your time. You can stay in the secret room that contained the law of fire for the next 3 months. However, after 3 months, you won't be able to enter the secret room. Su Konghai said to Darum, yes. Duan Lingtian, you with the law of time. Duan Lingtian, Duan Lingtian, Duan Lingtian, Duan Lingtian of with the law of time. Duan Yu, Duan Lingtian of fire of Lingtian of time. Duan 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 of Duan of Duan 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 Tian of Duan 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 of Dun. was of the Duan of the time, was a of to Duan of the Duan, was of the of time of the was of the of, Duan Duan. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded again. You may enter now. I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. I'll come and get you when the 3 months are up, Su Konghai said. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian nodded. Su Konghai turned around and left, leaving the 2 old men standing guard in the middle of the secret rooms. At this time, Duan Lingtian entered the secret room that contained the law of fire as well. Since he had entered the secret room that contained the law of time before, Duan Lingtian was very familiar with the process. It seems like my plan won't work. Duan Lingtian felt as though someone was spying on him, even though he was in the secret room. Moreover, it felt as though someone was deliberately trying to make him aware of it. This feeling also made him realize that someone was monitoring this law chamber. Initially, he had planned to summon the Chaos Divine Flame from the 5 divine elements to see if it could help him steal some of the profundities from the law of fire into his little world. After all, the world-cleansing divine water had told him that he could do that. However, now that he discovered someone was spying on him, his plan was doomed to fail. Duan Lingtian had thought about bringing his friends and family to the secret room in the Tidal Temple to obtain the profundities from the law of fire. However, he quickly dismissed the idea since he was certain the Tidal Temple would have a way to prevent him from doing that. Apart from Huan and Xuan Ai, who had yet to wake up from their cultivation, Duan Lingtian did not bring his friends and family to the heavenly palace of the primeval heaven. After all, it was risky for him to leave the heavenly palace of Duan Lingtian. For safety's sake, he would feel more at ease if his friends and family were in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. I should focus on obtaining the profundities from the law of fire. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian focused on obtaining the profundities from the law of fire's secret room. Due to his experience in the secret room that contained the law of time, he was able to obtain the profundities from the law of fire's secret room. I have 3 months to obtain all the profundities from the law of fire and the law of earth as soon as possible. Meanwhile, after leaving the secret room in the Tidal Temple, Su Konghai went to see the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple. The Hall Master of the Tidal Temple was a middle-aged man dressed in a long blue robe. He was tall and burly, and there was a bloody scar between his eyebrows that resembled a bright moon. At this moment, the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple sat at the top of the stairs in the great meeting hall of the Tidal Temple. He looked like a king who had descended from the heavens as he looked down at the people below him. Su Konghai, who had just arrived, was among them. Apart from Su Konghai, there were 3 other old men present. One of them was the Vice Hall Master of the Tidal Temple, while the other 2 were Grand Elders of the Tidal Temple. All of them were godly spirit powerhouses in the Tidal Temple. Lord Hall Master, Duan Lingtian has entered the secret room. Su Konghai reported Duan Lingtian's whereabouts as soon as he spoke. As for Feng Qingyang, I've already arranged for him to stay in one of our guest courtyards. Good. The Hall Master of the Tidal Temple nodded before he looked at the 3 old men. Is it worth it to risk offending Feng Qingyang for Duan Lingtian? Feng Qingyang, it should only be his law clone, Feng Qingyang said. It's easy to kill Duan Lingtian, and it's easy to destroy Feng Qingyang's law clone. However, this will definitely anger Feng Qingyang. Currently, we don't even know where Feng Qingyang's true body is. Even if he can't defeat the Tidal Temple, he can still make a move on our branch. The Hall Master of the Tidal Temple pointed out the key points as soon as he spoke. Hall Master. One of the old men stepped forward and said in a deep voice, Duan Lingtian isn't even 700 years old, but he has already mastered the Space Sword Dao and Control Dao of the 4 Dao of heaven and earth. Moreover, his attainments in the law of space are quite high as well. Currently, he's suspected to be as strong as an 8-star god of war. There's a high chance he has some secret that allows him to master the 4 Dao of heaven and earth so easily. If the Tidal Temple is able to obtain this secret, we might be able to create a group of people who are similar to him. Moreover, the Tidal Temple has always been searching for people who have mastered the 4 Dao of heaven and earth. Someone like Duan Lingtian is someone the Tidal Temple is willing to pay a huge price to recruit. It's just Feng Qingyang who just recently became a god. Do you think that our Tidal Temple should be afraid of him? If he dares to make a move on our branch, I'll immediately teleport over and kill his true body. The old man was one of the supreme elders of the Tidal Temple. Although his cultivation base was not as high as the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple, he was still a greater god. His strength was much stronger than Su Konghai, the Vice Hall Master of the Tidal Temple. For this reason, I suggest we imprison Duan Lingtian. It's fine if Feng Qingyang gives in. However, if he doesn't, do you think the Tidal Temple should be afraid of a brat who has only recently become a god? The old man had lived for more than 60,000 years. In his opinion, Feng Qingyang, who had only lived for slightly more than 10,000 years, was no different from a brat. That makes sense. Another old man, who was also a supreme elder of the Tidal Temple, nodded in agreement. The dignity of the Tidal Temple can't be blasphemed by a mere lesser god. He's just a lesser deity. Even if he's out of his mind to take revenge on our Tidal Temple, as long as we're prepared in advance, we can send out intermediate deities and above to kill him before we suffer heavy losses. If he dares to cause trouble, I'm willing to make a move myself and kill him. The old man's face was filled with ruthlessness as he spoke. What do you think? After hearing what the two supreme elders of the Tidal Temple had to say, the temple master of the Tidal Temple shifted his gaze to Su Konghai and the remaining old man. Both of them were vice temple masters of the Tidal Temple, and they were intermediate gods. Vice Hall Master Su, why don't you speak first? The old man looked at Su Konghai and said, You've interacted with Feng Qingyang more than I have. I haven't seen him before. Su Konghai nodded. Then, he looked at the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple and said in a deep voice, Hall Master, I can understand the Supreme Elder's feelings. However, I have a feeling that Feng Qingyang is not as simple as he seems. I'm afraid he's not as simple as a lesser god. Even if it's just his clone made from the law of earth, I have a strong feeling that I might not be able to defeat him. Su Konghai voiced his concerns. Before the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple could say anything, one of the two supreme elders spoke first. Vice Hall Master Su, I'm sure you're wrong. He's just a brat who has only become a god a few hundred years ago. Do you think he'll be able to improve and become an intermediate god, or even a greater god in just a few hundred years? What a joke. Chapter 35-39. I think it's time to make a decision. Don't tell me you want what happened to Feng Qingyang to happen again? The Supreme Elder of the Tidal Temple said. What happened to Feng Qingyang? As soon as the Supreme Elder of the Tidal Temple finished speaking, everyone, including Su Konghai, fell silent. Although the Tidal Temple had been around for a long time, it was sad that no one in the current generation, including the Temple Master, had grasped any of the four Tao of heaven and earth. Although this was very common in the history of the Tidal Temple, it still made the current generation of Tidal Temple rulers feel sad and anxious. Although there were comprehensions of the four Taos of heaven and earth in the Tidal Temple, they were all comprehensions left behind by the ancestors of the Tidal Temple in the past. They were all written down and depended on one's comprehension ability. No one in the Tidal Temple was capable of personally teaching the four Tao of heaven and earth. Under such circumstances, the Tidal Temple shifted its focus to the people outside. Anyone who could be confirmed to have mastered one of the four Taos of heaven and earth would be captured so that the Tidal Temple could personally teach them. Back then, Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, had risen like a shooting star. He had even mastered the destruction sword Tao, one of the four Tao of heaven and earth. In the beginning, the Tidal Temple had only sent someone to test the waters. That person was Tang Sanpeio's master, a high-ranking official of the Tidal Temple who was currently in seclusion. Although he was no longer in the Tidal Temple, he was still working for the Tidal Temple. However, when he challenged Feng Qingyang, he defeated Feng Qingyang. During that battle, the Tidal Temple discovered that Feng Qingyang had grasped the Destruction Sword Tao. Based on Feng Qingyang's attainments in the Destruction Sword Tao, it seemed like Feng Qingyang would continue to improve. For this reason, the Tidal Temple decided to wait for Feng Qingyang to master the Destruction Sword Tao before making a move on Feng Qingyang and bringing him to the Tidal Temple. Mastering the Destruction Sword Tao and mastering the Destruction Sword Tao were two completely different concepts. Since Feng Qingyang was in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven, the title temple was not in a hurry to capture him. Therefore, the title temple decided to wait for Feng Qingyang to become a god before capturing Feng Qingyang and forcing him to hand over his comprehension of the destruction sword Dao. Now, Su Konghai and the others who were present were very patient and wanted to wait a little longer. However, before Feng Qingyang was about to become a god, they heard that Feng Qingyang was in the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. At that time, they had regretted not making a move earlier. At that time, they thought Feng Qingyang, who was trapped in the Azura Hell, would definitely die. After all, the Azura Heaven and Earth was the God King, the Azura Heaven and Earth, the Azura God Azura. Just like its name, the Azura Heaven and Earth was hell. However, when Feng Qingyang returned to the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven and killed the new heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, hope rose in their hearts again. Then, they sent Tang Sanpeio's master to test Duan Ling Tian again. This time, Tang Sanpeio's master was defeated miserably. Not only has Feng Qingyang mastered the destruction sword Dao, but I can't even see through his destruction sword Dao. Moreover, he's already a god. Moreover, he's only a clone from the law of earth. His true body and his strongest clone from the law of destruction aren't in the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. When they heard Tang Sanpeio's master's words, they knew it would be difficult for the title temple to make a move on Feng Qingyang. Even a god, a lesser god, was not someone they could easily control. At the very least, they did not have the perfect method to force a god to do something against his will. If a god wanted to commit suicide, they could stop him. However, they did not have the ability to completely control a god. We should have made a move earlier. At that time, they still regretted not making a move earlier. That's right. At the same time, another supreme elder from the title temple chimed in, "We can't afford to hesitate any longer. We only have one chance. If we miss this opportunity, it'll be difficult for us to kill Duan Ling Tian in the future. Feng Qingyang should be thankful that we didn't make a move on him. It'll be fine if he knows what's good for him. However, if he doesn't, we'll turn him into a stray dog without waiting for him to make a move." The supreme elder from the title temple who had spoken earlier said in a deep voice as his eyes glinted coldly, "Temple Master." At this moment, even Su Konghai and the other vice-temple master of the title temple felt their blood boil when they heard the supreme elder's words. They turned to look at the temple master of the title temple in unison, waiting for his opinion. The temple master's opinion would be final. "What do the two of you think?" The temple master of the title temple looked at Su Konghai and the other vice-temple master as he asked, "Now that the two supreme elders have made their stand, what do the two of you think we should do?" "Temple master, I agree with the two supreme elders' words." The other vice-temple master was the first to speak up. Su Konghai smiled bitterly. "Even if I told you not to make a move on Duan Ling Tian, I'm afraid I won't be able to stop you, Temple Master, right? If I'm not mistaken, you've already made up your mind, Temple Master." As soon as Su Konghai finished speaking, the other 3 old men turned to look at the temple master of the title temple in unison. "Let him stay." The temple master of the title temple master said indifferently, just as the 2 supreme elders have said, "Do you think the title temple is afraid of Feng Qingyang, a mere heavenly emperor who has only become a god a few hundred years ago? After we let Duan Ling Tian stay, it'll be fine if he doesn't act recklessly. However, if he acts recklessly, we'll make him suffer." The temple master of the title temple finally made up his mind. "When do we make our move?" Su Konghai asked. "Let's wait until Duan Ling Tian has spent enough time in the secret room of laws." The temple master of the title temple pondered for a moment before he said, "Who knows, he might be able to comprehend something in the secret room of laws and improve his 4 Tao of heaven and earth. If that's the case, it'll be more beneficial to the title temple." "You're wise, temple master." The other vice-temple master's eyes lit up as he flattered the temple master of the title temple. At this moment, both Duan Ling Tian and his master, Feng Qingyang, were unaware that the title temple had decided to target Duan Ling Tian. It took slightly more than a month for Duan Ling Tian to leave the secret room of laws of fire and enter the secret room of laws of earth. Then, He stayed in the secret room of Laws of Earth for 3 months before he came out. Time's up. When the time was up, a voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. At the same time, he felt a huge force pushing him out of the secret room of Laws of Earth. Duan Lingtian, who was pushed out of the secret room of Laws of Earth, had a calm expression on his face. However, inwardly, he was very satisfied with his gains this time. After all, he had successfully comprehended all the profundities from the law of fire and the law of earth. Moreover, he had comprehended all the profundities from the law of fire and the law of earth to the mastery stage. At this point, he had comprehended all the profundities from the law of earth to the mastery stage. The law of space, the law of time, the law of fire, the law of earth. Both of you, please help me contact Vice Temple Master Su. It's time for me to return with my master. After being pushed out of the secret room of laws, Duan Lingtian stood quietly in the same spot for a while before he looked at the 2 people outside the secret room. These 2 people were the elders of the Tidal Temple who were in charge of guarding the secret room of Laws of Earth. When they heard Duan Lingtian's words, they nodded. At the same time, one of them sent a message to Su Konghai. I'll send a message to the Vice Temple Master for you. Please wait for a moment. The Tidal Temple Elder who sent the message to Su Konghai said, All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. At the same time, he sent a message to his master. Master, I've come out. I'll wait for Vice Temple Master Su to bring me to you. After that, we can leave. I'll wait for both of you. Feng Qingyang nodded. At the same time, he asked, Did it go smoothly? It went smoothly. Duan Lingtian smiled. I've comprehended all the profundities from the law of fire and the law of earth to the mastery stage. Next, I'll have to fuse their profundities. It'll be similar to the law of time that I comprehended earlier. Naturally, Feng Qingyang praised Duan Lingtian's words. Not bad. I can impart some of my experience with the law of earth to you as well. However, you'll have to rely on your own comprehension of the law of earth, just like my sword Dao. I know that. Duan Lingtian replied again. At the same time, his eyes flashed as he saw a figure flying toward him from afar at lightning speed. Master, let's continue our discussion when we meet later. Vice Palace Master Su is here. Duan Lingtian, do you plan to stay in the Tidal Temple for a while longer to comprehend the law of fire and the law of earth while the iron is hot? Or do you plan to return? Su Konghai asked with a smile when he arrived in front of Duan Lingtian. Thank you for your kindness, Vice Temple Master Su, but I plan to return after meeting up with my master. Duan Lingtian replied, All right, I'll bring you to your master. Su Konghai nodded and did not say anything else. Under Su Konghai's lead, Duan Lingtian soon met his master, Feng Qingyang. At this time, his heart that had been hanging in the air was completely put down. In the end, it seemed like the Tidal Temple did not intend to do anything to him, let alone keep him alive. At this moment, before Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang could speak, the sound of wind whistling in the air suddenly rang in the air. It was piercing to the ears. Whoosh! At the same time, Su Konghai, who was originally standing near Duan Lingtian, rose into the air and hovered in the air. At the same time, the other 4 figures also appeared in a timely manner. One of them was a middle-aged man, and the other 3 were old men. Chapter 3540. Duan Lingtian was taken aback by this sudden development. He did not expect this at all. Just a moment ago, Su Konghai, the Vice Hall Master of the Tidal Temple, had brought Duan Lingtian to his master out of goodwill. It was as though he was escorting Duan Lingtian out of the Tidal Temple. However, when Duan Lingtian saw his master, it seemed as though Su Konghai had turned into a completely different person. He stood in the air and surrounded Duan Lingtian with 4 other people. Was the Tidal Temple planning to keep him here after all? Moreover, they did not even bother to hide their intentions in front of his master. Where did the Tidal Temple get their confidence from? Duan Lingtian's expression darkened immediately. His eyes gleamed coldly, and a terrifying aura surged out of his body. It seemed as though the temperature in the surroundings had dropped a few degrees. Duan Lingtian's heart sank at this moment. The Tidal Temple must have thought about the consequences of their actions. However, Since this had happened, it meant the title temple was prepared to bear the consequences of their actions. It was obvious they were no longer afraid of his master, Feng Qingyang. Or perhaps they did not think his master was a threat to the title temple. Wu Hongqing. Unlike Duanling Tian, who had a grim expression on his face, Feng Qingyang's expression remained calm. His eyes were trained on the middle-aged man hovering in the air. Wu Hongqing was the current hall master of the title temple. As soon as Feng Qingyang finished speaking, the old man who was hovering in the air snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Feng Qingyang, do you think a mere heavenly emperor like you has the right to call our hall master by his name?" Upon hearing the old man's words, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to the figure hovering in the air. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a long blue robe. He was tall and burly, and there was a bloody crescent moon mark between his eyebrows. His brows were as sharp as swords, and he exuded an imposing aura. At this very moment, the other party was looking down at him and his master. Feng Qingyang. Wu Hongqing stood in the air and looked at Feng Qingyang indifferently. He said indifferently, "The title temple wants you as a core disciple. You, just pretend that you don't have such a disciple. If you're willing, the title temple won't try to deprive you of your position as the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. You can continue to be the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven for as long as you want. This is what I, Wu Hongqing, the current hall master of the title temple, promise you." As soon as Wu Hongqing opened his mouth, he asked for Duan Lingtian from Feng Qingyang. He even offered a price at the right time. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly to himself. It seemed that he still had some value. At the same time, Duan Lingtian realized that the people in the title temple, including the hall master, were unaware of his master's true strength. Otherwise, he would not have made such a promise. With his master's strength, there was no need for the title temple to make such a promise. With his own strength, he was more than capable of becoming the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Has the title temple made up your mind? Feng Qingyang ignored Wu Hongqing's words. He stared at Wu Hongqing indifferently. His voice was so calm that it was frightening. Feng Qingyang, stop trying to be mysterious. Another Grand Supreme Elder from the title temple chimed in with a mocking smile. How long has it been since you became a god? I'm afraid you're only an intermediate god at most, right? How dare you threaten the title temple? Perhaps you'll say that your true body and your clone from the law of destruction aren't here, so you can seek revenge on the title temple's branches in the Devata realms. If your true body and your clone from the law of destruction dare to make a move on the title temple's branches, I'll personally teleport over to kill you. A hint of killing intent could be seen on the Supreme Elder's face as he spoke. Then, he added, moreover, if you dare to act recklessly, even if you've already escaped by the time I arrive, I won't be able to escape from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven. Unless you're willing to become a sexless cultivator and live a fugitive, however, you'll still be hunted down by the god-level powerhouses of the title temple. The title temple's Grand Supreme Elders' every word and action was a perfect example of the word threat. Upon hearing the Supreme Elder's words, Duan Lingtian's expression turned unsightly. He did not expect the title temple would be so ruthless. You want me to die a graveless death? Contrary to Duan Lingtian's unsightly expression, a faint smile could be seen on Feng Qingyang's face when he instinctively turned to look at Duan Lingtian. In the next moment, "Watch out!" Wu Hongqing, the hall master of the title temple, cried out in alarm as his eyes widened. Swoosh! At the same time, Wu Hongqing vanished from his original spot. When he reappeared, he was already at the Supreme Elder who had threatened Feng Qingyang earlier. However, it was too late. The Supreme Elder from the title temple who had threatened Duan Lingtian earlier had a bloody hole in his glabella. Even then, he was still wearing a disdainful expression on his face. It was clear he did not react in time. The Supreme Elder, Su Kong Hai, and the Vice Hall Master of the title temple felt as though they had fallen into an ice cellar when they saw this. They felt chills running up their spines from the soles of their feet to their heads. Brother Quan, When the remaining supreme elder of the tidal temple regained his senses, a look of grief and indignation appeared on his face. Flames of fury burned in his eyes. However, he was unable to vent his anger on Feng Qingyang. This was because when he looked at Feng Qingyang again, there was more fear in his eyes than anger. How's this possible? When the two vice hall masters from the tidal temple, including Su Konghai, regained their senses, an expression of disbelief appeared on their faces. Their tidal temple's supreme elder was a higher god, and he was a grand elder. However, in just a blink of an eye, he had died right in front of them. Moreover, they did not even see how he had died. All they heard was the sound of a sword humming in the air. Feng Qingyang, did he draw his sword? I'm an intermediate god, but I didn't even see him draw his sword. Moreover, this is only his clone from the Law of Earth. Su Konghai and the Vice Hall Master from the Tidal Temple trembled in fear. It's not just us. Even Elder Su Quan did not react in time to Feng Qingyang's attack. If that's the case, there's only one possibility. At the same time, Wu Hongqing, the Hall Master of the Tidal Temple, finally spoke. Feng Qingyang, you've actually broken through to the God King stage. You've become a God King. Wu Hongqing's tone was filled with anger, but at the same time, it was also filled with fear. His face was filled with disbelief. How many years had it been since Feng Qingyang became a god? How was he already a God King? How was this possible? God King. Su Konghai and the other two Vice Hall Masters had already realized that Feng Qingyang's strength was definitely at the God King stage. Otherwise, he would not have been able to kill the Supreme Elder from the Tidal Temple so easily. Master has broken through? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Qingyang killing the Supreme Elder from the Tidal Temple. This was something that he had not expected. After all, when he went to the Azura Hell with his master's main body was still quite a distance away from breaking through to the God King stage. He did not expect his master to break through to the God King stage in just slightly more than a year. Now, the Tidal Temple still wants to keep my disciple alive? Feng Qingyang stepped into the air and stood in the center of the four experts from the Tidal Temple with his hands on his back. His expression was calm as he said, "If you still want to, you can try." Feng Qingyang. Wu Hongqing's expression darkened as he stared at Feng Qingyang. "Since you're a God King, why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you have to kill the Supreme Elder of the Tidal Temple to prove your strength? You did it on purpose?" As soon as Wu Hongqing found out that Feng Qingyang was a God King, he knew that it was impossible for him and the Tidal Temple to keep Duan Lingtian alive. Moreover, Su Quan, the Supreme Elder of the Tidal Temple, had died in vain. Even if Wu Hongqing could control the formation in the Tidal Temple's main hall to deal with Feng Qingyang, it was impossible for him to kill Feng Qingyang. Even the most powerful killing formation in the Tidal Temple's main hall could only kill ordinary gods at most. This was because the formation was powerful, and there were many divine crystals as the driving source of the formation. It should be noted that divine crystals could not be used to set up divine formations unless they were in the realms of gods. This was because the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods could not resonate with divine crystals. Only the heaven and earth spirit energy in the realms of gods could resonate with divine crystals and allow divine formations to unleash their full potential. The killing formation in the Tidal Temple's main hall could kill a God King in the realms of gods. However, in the realms of gods, it could only kill ordinary lesser gods at most. Otherwise, it could only injure the lesser gods severely. So what if I did it on purpose? Feng Qingyang retorted indifferently. He looked at Wu Hongqing calmly. On the other hand, Wu Hongqing's eyes were cold, and his body emitted a bone-chilling aura. "Little Tian, let's go." Feng Qingyang glanced at Wu Hongqing indifferently before he beckoned to Duan Lingtian to leave with Duan Lingtian. Meanwhile, Wu Hongqing, the temple master of the Tidal Temple, looked at Feng Qingyang with hostility in his eyes. It was as though he had no intention of making a move at all. It was as though he wanted to let Duan Lingtian and Feng Qingyang leave. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to leave with Feng Qingyang, humph! Another cold snort came from afar. However, a figure appeared in the distant void above. Tathagata? As soon as the figure appeared, Duan Lingtian's eyes widened slightly. He recognized the person. It was the temple master of the Tidal Temple's Xian Yuantian branch, who was currently controlled by the dead spirit clansmen. Chapter 3541. Temple Master Rulai? Even Su Konghai, one of the vice-temple masters of the Tidal Temple, was taken aback by Rulai's arrival. He did not expect Rulai would show up at such a time. Moreover, Rulai was swaggering in front of them. Can't you see that even we have to avoid Feng Qingyang's attack? Who would have thought Feng Qingyang was already a god king? If they had known this earlier, they would not have shown up to force Feng Qingyang to kill Duan Lingtian. After all, a god king was more than enough to force the Tidal Temple to compromise. At the very least, they had no choice but to compromise. Although the Tidal Temple could mobilize more powerful forces, those forces were all in the realms of gods. Before the spatial tunnel between the realms of gods and the Devata realms was opened, they would not be able to use those forces. Currently, their strongest cultivator was the hall master of the main hall of the Tidal Temple, a mere celestial king. Perhaps, the temple master of the Tidal Temple was not afraid of Feng Qingyang. However, what about the others in the Tidal Temple? If Feng Qingyang really wanted to fight to the death, with his strength as a celestial king, he could easily slaughter the entire Tidal Temple until only the hall master of the Tidal Temple remained. For this reason, Wu Hongqing, the temple master of the Tidal Temple, did not attack Feng Qingyang even though he was infuriated. After all, it was meaningless. Moreover, it would only worsen the situation. If Feng Qingyang was only an intermediate god, the Tidal Temple would not have to worry about him. After all, there were more than 20 intermediate gods in the Tidal Temple. There were also more than 5 higher gods in the Tidal Temple. Even if Feng Qingyang's cultivation base was at the higher-ranked deity stage, they would still be wary of him. At that time, they would consider keeping Duan Lingtian alive no matter what. However, Feng Qingyang had killed one of the Tidal Temple's higher gods and displayed his strength as a celestial king. At this moment, there was no need for them to hesitate. They had no other choice. Hall Master Rulai? Wu Hongqing, the hall master of the main hall of the Tidal Temple, glanced at Tathagata indifferently before he said, "Vice Hall Master Su told me that you said you'd come over to help us come up with a solution. However, it's meaningless now. You, go back to your Heaven Xian Tian branch palace." Su Konghai had told Wu Hongqing that Tathagata, who was at the pinnacle of Xinyuan heaven, was coming, so Wu Hongqing knew about it. Now, seeing that Tathagata was late and had even arrived at this time, he could not help but feel a little irritated. In his opinion, even if all the palace masters of the Tidal Temple's branches in the Devata realms were gathered here, it would still be useless, let alone Tathagata. Feng Qingyang was a godly king. Even if he was no match for him, this was only Feng Qingyang's avatar of the laws of earth. Besides that, he still had his main body and his avatar of the laws of destruction. That was what was truly frightening. "Hall Master, I saw what happened earlier." Upon hearing Wu Hongqing's words, Tathagata said indifferently, "I didn't expect Feng Qingyang to have become a celestial king. Although he's only a primitive celestial king, it's still shocking." Wu Hongqing was taken aback by Tathagata's words. He did not expect Tathagata to have arrived so early and witnessed Feng Qingyang's attack. However, if that was the case, why did Tathagata still dare to show up in such a domineering manner? "Hall Master, all of you can just watch the show from the sidelines. Once I possess Duan Lingtian, as long as the Tidal Temple is willing to make me the next Hall Master, I'm willing to share all of his comprehension of the 4 Tao of heaven and earth with the Tidal Temple." Possession. Upon hearing Tathagata's words, the few godly powerhouses in the Tidal Temple, including Wu Hongqing, were stunned. Even if Tathagata wanted to possess Duan Lingtian's comprehension of the 4 Tao of heaven and earth, right? Wasn't Tathagata simply possessing a body? Should I call you Tathagata or a member of the Dead Spirit clan? Wu Hongqing, Su Konghai, and the others from the Tidal Temple were still stunned by Tathagata's words when Duan Lingtian looked at Tathagata and asked meaningfully, "Dead Spirit clan?" Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the few people from the Tidal Temple looked at Tathagata warily. Their expressions turned solemn. As high-ranking officials of the Tidal Temple who had lived for a long time, it was only natural that they knew what the Dead Spirit Clan meant. It seems like you know everything. Tathagata, also known as Yahiko the Venerable, was stunned for a moment before he couldn't help but laugh. However, I would prefer if you called me Yahiko the Venerable. As for the Dead Spirit Clan, after I possess you, the Dead Spirit Clan will no longer accept me, and I'll no longer be a member of the Dead Spirit Clan. I will become you. I will take over everything you have, including your memories and everything related to cultivation. Yahiko paused for a moment before he looked at Wu Hongqing. Temple Master, you should have a certain understanding of the Dead Spirit Clan. You should know that it's impossible for the Dead Spirit Clan to accept another person who has possessed a physical body. You should also know that every member of the Dead Spirit Clan has a chance to completely possess another person's body. I plan to use this chance on Duanling Tian. As for Tathagata, I haven't completely possessed him. I've only suppressed his soul and temporarily gained control of his body. What I said to you earlier was also not false. I need the protection of the Tidal Temple. If the Dead Spirit Clan finds out about me and wants to make a move on me, you have to protect me. As for whether I'll become the next Temple Master of the Tidal Temple, that's only secondary. As long as you agree, I'll share all of Duan Lingtian's comprehension of the four Tao of heaven and earth with the Tidal Temple after I successfully possess him. Master Yahiko brought up this matter again. Wu Hongqing was slightly tempted by Yahiko's words. He knew about the Dead Spirit Clan. It was a variant clan in the undead world, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms. There was also information about the Dead Spirit Clan in the Tidal Temple, including the fact that every member of the Dead Spirit Clan had a chance to completely possess another person's body, and that the Dead Spirit Clan did not allow members of the Dead Spirit Clan to possess another person's body. The Tidal Temple also recorded that the Dead Spirit Clan was almost destroyed by a member of the Dead Spirit Clan who had possessed another person's body. I agree to your request. Due to his understanding of the Dead Soul Clan, Wu Hongqing, the Palace Master of the Tidal Temple, was confident he would be able to protect Mi Yin after he possessed Duanling Tian. Wu Hongqing sent Yahiko a voice transmission since he was afraid of angering Feng Qingyang. However, with Feng Qingyang here, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to possess Duanling Tian. I can't help you as well. If I help you, even if you succeed in possessing Duanling Tian's body, Feng Qingyang won't let you off so easily. Wu Hongqing expressed his concern. Don't worry, Temple Master. There's no need for you to help. Yahiko replied confidently through voice transmission. As for Feng Qingyang, it won't take long for him to disappear from this world. He's just a primitive celestial king. As soon as Yahiko finished speaking, he lowered his head and said softly, Big brother, I'll leave Feng Qingyang to you. After destroying his law avatars, it shouldn't take long for you to find out where his true body and other avatars are. Please help me kill him once and for all. After saying that, Yahiko's eyes flashed with a cold light. Big brother? Although Yahiko spoke softly, everyone present on the scene could hear him clearly. Duanling Tian's expression turned solemn at this moment. Duanling Tian finally remembered. Previously, when his master, Feng Qingyang, was about to kill Yahiko in the primordial precipice in the primordial heaven, Yahiko had said he had an elder brother who was a celestial king. Did Yahiko's elder brother come with him? Moreover, Yahiko's elder brother knew his master was a celestial king, and yet, Yahiko's elder brother was not a primitive celestial king. As soon as Yahiko's words attracted the attention of the people from the Tidal Temple, a soul suddenly emerged from Yahiko's body. His spiritual body was in the form of a human. As it floated in the air, it emitted a terrifying aura that quickly locked onto Feng Qingyang. Brother Yin, this is the last time I'll help you. Take care of yourself in the future. The soul was none other than Mi Xian, the patriarch of the Spectre clan whom Yahiko had invited from the Spectre clan. He was an intermediate celestial king from the Spectre clan. Brother, I won't have the face to beg you in the future. Yahiko smiled bitterly, but his eyes were filled with excitement. After all, he was going to have a new body soon. Moreover, it would be a perfect body for him. Swoosh, swoosh. As soon as Yahiko finished speaking, Mi Xian made his move. A terrifying soul energy surged out of his body. Since the Spectre clan was a soul, they were skilled in soul attacks. They could not use material attacks. This is Wu Hongqing, the hall master of the Tidal Temple, was shocked and delighted when he saw Mi Xian's attack. An intermediate celestial king? Although he had guessed Mi Xian's helper would be strong enough to suppress Feng Qingyang, he was certain the helper was at least an intermediate celestial king. However, when he saw Mi Xian's strength as an intermediate celestial king, he could not help but feel a surge of emotions. The Spectre clan is skilled in locking onto souls and tracking the owner of souls. Even if a god's avatar is targeted by the Spectre clan, they'll be able to track down the owner's true body and other avatars in a short time. Wu Hongqing's eyes shone brightly when he thought of this. This intermediate celestial king from the Spectre clan should be able to deal with Feng Qingyang's true body and all of his avatars. Literature Hall. Chapter 3542. The Dead Spirit Clan was an unusual life form. They were spiritual life forms. This life form was born with a powerful soul. After becoming a celestial king, they could easily kill most celestial kings of the same cultivation base with their soul attacks. Moreover, the Dead Spirit Clan was adept at locking onto souls and tracking their masters. It was said that they were natural killers in ancient times. They could slay celestials and slaughter gods. Even gods would not be able to escape once their souls were locked onto by the Dead Spirit Clan. Even if it was just a law avatar, their main body and other law avatars would not be able to escape once their souls were locked onto. Therefore, Wu Hongqing, the temple master of the Tidal Temple, was overjoyed when he saw Lord Yahiko summoning a middle celestial king from the Dead Spirit Clan. This meant that Feng Qingyang was doomed. Feng Qingyang was only a lower celestial king like him. Even he would not be able to escape from a middle celestial king from the Dead Spirit Clan if he did not have the soul defense divine weapon from the Tidal Temple. He did not even have a 10% chance of escaping, let alone Feng Qingyang, who had become a lower celestial king after him. Unless he has a soul defense divine weapon. However, that's almost impossible. Wu Hongqing thought to himself. Whoosh! Under Duan Lingtian's gaze, the middle celestial king from the Dead Spirit Clan turned into a ray of blood-red light and entered his master's glabella before he could react. He disappeared into his master's glabella. Then, he saw that around his divine master's body, in addition to the divine power that contained the law of earth, streaks of terrifying soul power also spread out in all directions at the right time. It was as if two soul powers were colliding. However, it was obvious that the middle celestial king from the Dead Spirit Clan had the upper hand. Oh no! Seeing this, Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. Not to mention that his master was only a clone of the laws of earth. The spiritual energy it contained couldn't be compared to his master's main body at all. Even the soul power that the expert from the Dead Spirit Clan exuded when he attacked made him realize that his opponent's soul power was so strong that even his master's original body might not be a match for it. Moreover, since Master Yahiko was still so confident even after knowing that his master was a lower divine king, it meant that his elder brother was stronger than a lower divine king, or at least a mid-divine king. Don't mention that you're just a law clone. Even if your true body was here, I would still be able to turn you into ashes. Mi Xian's indifferent voice rang from within Feng Qingyang's body at this moment. At the same time, Duan Lingtian and the others could sense that Mi Xian's soul energy was growing stronger and Feng Qingyang's soul energy was weakening. They were like candles in the wind that could be blown out at any time. If you dare touch my disciple, I, Feng Qingyang, will enter the netherworld in the future and destroy your entire Dead Spirit Clan. Feng Qingyang spoke as his soul was gradually being destroyed. His voice was so cold that it felt as though winter had arrived. It was bone-chilling. I believe that you will have the ability to do so in the future. Mi Xian's voice rang out again. In just 10,000 years, you have achieved what you have today. In the future, becoming a divine emperor, or even a god emperor will be a cinch. Unfortunately, you are destined to never mature. After destroying your clone, I will track down your true body and the other clones and destroy them one by one to prevent future trouble. Mi Xian's tone turned icy as he spoke. Little Tian, run! Feng Qingyang shouted as his body exploded. A terrifying force that came from his divine energy that was infused with the law of earth swept out in all directions and slammed into everyone present. Bang, bang, bang. 3 loud bangs rang out. The remaining supreme elder of the tidal temple and the 2 vice temple masters, including Su Kong Hai, were sent flying by the force. They spat out mouthfuls of blood as they flew backward. At the same time, Wu Hongqing, the tidal temple master, made his move as well. He stood in front of Lord Yahiko to protect him. He did not even protect the supreme elder of the tidal temple and the 2 vice temple masters. He only protected Lord Yahiko. Thank you, Temple Master. Lord Yahiko transmitted his voice to Wu Hongqing. Before this, Lord Yahiko had thought that Feng Qingyang's clone would unleash his greatest strength before his soul was destroyed to create a way out for Duan Lingtian. Therefore, Lord Yahiko had notified Wu Hongqing in advance so that Wu Hongqing could protect him. As expected, Feng Qingyang had made his move. Although the law of earth that he had comprehended was not as powerful as the law of destruction that Lord Yahiko had comprehended, his strength as a God King was still enough to crush any deities below the God King realm. Although there was only a difference of 1 level between a God King and a deity, the difference in their strength was like heaven and earth. For example, Feng Qingyang had not targeted the supreme elder of the tidal temple, a higher deity. However, he had still been sent flying and had sustained serious injuries. As for the 2 vice temple masters of the tidal temple, Su Kong Hai and the other vice temple master, they were severely injured. They were barely able to stand in the void in the distance. Their bodies were swaying as they looked at Feng Qingyang in horror. Feng Qingyang was only a clone, but he was already so powerful. If his original body and his avatar of the laws of destruction were to come, just how powerful would they be? Run! As soon as Feng Qingyang's clone unleashed his strength, Duan Lingtian had already made his escape. He teleported again and again at the right time. When he was about to leave, he turned around and saw that his master's clone had been completely destroyed. Master's Earth Elemental avatar was destroyed just like that, and the wisp of soul in his avatar was also destroyed. With the destruction of the soul fragment, Master's original soul will also suffer a backlash. As for his clone, he'll have to spend a lot of time and effort to form it again. Although Duan Lingtian's master, Feng Qingyang, would only need a certain amount of time to fully recover and form his clone again, Duan Lingtian's master would not be able to do so. However, Duan Lingtian was still furious at what had happened to his master. That dead spirit clansman deserved to die. All of a sudden, Duan Lingtian discovered that his teleportation had failed. At the same time, he sensed a terrifying aura around him. A formation? Duan Lingtian's expression turned unsightly immediately. He knew the tidal temple had made a move to save his master. Previously, when his master had displayed his strength as a god king, the tidal temple did not dare to act rashly. Then, Lord Yahiko from the Dead Spirit clan who had half-possessed Gautama Buddha's body had appeared. He had brought his elder brother, a Dead Spirit clansman who was suspected to be at least a mid-level god king, and had forcefully destroyed his master's clone and forced his master's clone to self-destruct. Apart from that, Lord Yahiko's elder brother had also said that he would hunt down his master. The Dead Spirit clansmen were blessed by the heavens in this aspect. Duan Lingtian had learned about this during the Devata Realms Battle of the Geniuses. After all, he was being targeted by a Dead Spirit clansman. If he did not learn more about his opponent, he might not even know how he died. Although his master was Feng Qingyang, it was impossible for him to stay by his side and protect him all the time. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Wu Hongqing, the palace master of the tidal temple, didn't make a move earlier. He's only watching because he's afraid of Master's true body and his clone from the law of destruction. Now that a mid-level god king from the Dead Spirit clan has made a move, he's determined to hunt down his master. Wu Hongqing must think Master won't be able to escape from the Dead Spirit clansmen, so he's no longer worried. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. During this process, his hands did not remain idle. He used all his strength to break through the restraints of the space. However, he discovered that even though the formations in the surroundings were on the verge of collapse from his attacks, they were not destroyed by him in the end. They still stood firm. It's useless. Wu Hongqing looked at Duan Lingtian indifferently as he said, the formation in the tidal temple is capable of sealing anyone below the level of a god. As long as your strength hasn't reached the level of a god, you won't be able to break free from it. Haha. After Wu Hongqing appeared, Yahiko arrived as well. He looked at Duan Lingtian intently as though he was admiring a piece of art. Duan Lingtian, in the end, you still fell into my hands, Yahiko said. Swoosh. After Wu Hongqing appeared, his elder brother, who was in his soul form, appeared next to him. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames as he looked at Duan Lingtian intently. Little brother Yin, is he the one with the perfect body that you've taken a fancy to? That's right. Lord Yahiko nodded excitedly. Big brother, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely repay you. Lord Yahiko was so excited that he had lost his composure. There's no need for thanks between us brothers. Mi Xian shook his head. However, little brother Yin, it's best for you to hide for a while after you possess him. I'm worried that Feng Qingyang will go to the Dead Spirit Clan before I can find him. After all, we're not the only ones who know about the rule of the Dead Spirit Clan. Many outsiders know about it as well. Mi Xian voiced his concern. Don't worry, big brother, Lord Yahiko said nonchalantly. I've already discussed this with Temple Master Wu Hongqing. After I possess Duan Lingtian, I'll share the 4 Tao of heaven and earth with the Tidal Temple. In return, the Tidal Temple will be responsible for protecting me. As long as I'm in the main hall of the Tidal Temple, even the Supreme Elders won't dare to act recklessly, Duan Lingtian said. It was clear that Lord Yahiko was very confident in his backer. Chapter 35-43. Since you're so considerate, I'm relieved. Mi Xian nodded before he turned to Lord Yahiko and said, it's time for you to possess him. The sooner you do so, the sooner you'll be able to accept everything about him. All right. Lord Yahiko nodded before he looked at Duan Lingtian with bright eyes. Wu Hongqing and Mi Xian also looked at Duan Lingtian. They looked at Duan Lingtian as though they were looking at a dead man. As for Lord Yahiko, his eyes shone with a strange light. I have news about the 5 divine elements, Duan Lingtian said nonchalantly as he glanced at the 3 people before him who were about to possess him. The 5 divine elements. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Lord Yahiko stopped moving. Mi Xian and Wu Hongqing stared at him. Humph. But soon, Yahiko coldly snorted. Even if what you said is true, so what? As long as I possess you, I'll know if you're telling the truth or not. If you're telling the truth, I'll be able to find the 5 divine elements myself. Lord Yahiko nodded. Both Mi Xian and Wu Hongqing nodded at Master Yahiko's words. That was indeed the case. Temple Master Wu, Duan Lingtian, turned to look at Wu Hongqing. Even if I have news about the 5 divine elements, after he possesses me, he can just say that he doesn't have any and won't share it with you. The information I know about the 5 divine elements isn't as simple as it seems. It's possible to obtain all of the 5 divine elements there. If I bring you there, you might be able to obtain your own 5 divine elements. Wu Hongqing frowned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He had not thought about it earlier, but now that he heard Duan Lingtian's words, he felt it made sense. Stop trying to sow discord, brat. Lord Yahiko's expression turned cold as he sneered. In my opinion, you're trying to use this opportunity to leave the Tidal Temple, right? So what? Duan Lingtian glanced at Yahiko, then looked at Wu Hongqing and said in a deep voice, Temple Master Wu, I know that I can't change my decision today. However, I hope that I can return to my hometown and return to my hometown. This is my greatest wish. If you're willing to do it, I can share the whereabouts of the 5 divine elements with you. I've already mastered one of the 5 divine elements. As Duan Lingtian spoke, he controlled the world-cleansing divine water from the 5 divine elements to cover his body. A gentle, water-like energy spread out and filled the air like ripples. World-cleansing divine water. As soon as the power of the world-cleansing divine water spread out, Wu Hongqing, Mi Xian, and even Lord Yahiko's eyes lit up. Wu Hongqing wasn't interested in taking over Duan Lingtian's body, and neither was Mi Xian. Only Master Yahiko was interested. However, all of them were interested in the 5 divine elements. Even if Mi Xian, a member of the Dead Spirit clan, did not have a physical body, he could still comprehend the 4 Tao of heaven and earth with the help of the 5 divine elements. The 5 divine elements were one of the prerequisites to becoming a supreme expert. With the 5 divine elements, he would be able to comprehend the 4 Tao of heaven and earth with half the effort. Perhaps, he might even be able to break through the shackles of the Dead Spirit clan and become a divine emperor. This is the 7th form of the world-cleansing divine water, Duan Lingtian said indifferently. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Wu Hongqing and Master Yahiko's eyes widened in shock. Even Mi Xian's body trembled slightly. Although they could sense that Duan Lingtian's world-cleansing divine water was not an ordinary world-cleansing divine water, it was a high-level world-cleansing divine water. However, they did not expect it to be the 7th form of the world-cleansing divine water. It was common knowledge that the 5 divine elements only had 9 forms. The 7th form of the world-cleansing divine water was close to the perfect form of the world-cleansing divine water. While the 3 of them were still in shock, Duan Lingtian said, "I know that there are 4 other 5 divine elements in that place. Like the world-cleansing divine water, they're all in the 7th form of the 5 divine elements." At first, the world-cleansing divine water tried to persuade them to follow me, but they refused. They said they wanted to wait for their fated person. Duan Lingtian continued to say, "I only have one request. I only have one request. Even if my soul is to perish, it must perish in my hometown. The other 4 divine elements are also in my hometown." Although Duan Lingtian's words were tempting, Wu Hongqing and Master Yahiko were not stupid. However, Wu Hongqing, Mi Xian, and Mi Yin were not fools. Naturally, they did not believe Duan Lingtian's words even after he revealed the world-cleansing divine water. Yahiko. Wu Hongqing looked at Yahiko and said indifferently, "You can possess Duan Lingtian here, but I want his world-cleansing divine water. As for the other 4 divine elements, they'll belong to you and Mi Xian." Wu Hongqing seemed very generous at this moment. In fact, this was because he had seen the world-cleansing divine water. As for the other 4 divine elements, he did not know if they really existed. Perhaps Duan Lingtian had made them up? Under such circumstances, it would be best if Yahiko agreed to give up the world-cleansing divine water. However, Yahiko was unwilling to comply with Wu Hongqing's request. He smiled faintly and said, "Temple Master, there's no need to rush. Since he said that he wants to die in his hometown, and the other 4 divine elements are in his hometown, then let's go with him. If the other 4 divine elements really exist, I'm willing to give 2 of them to the tidal temple. The other 2 divine elements and the world-cleansing divine water will belong to me and my elder brother." Yahiko said, "What if he's lying?" Wu Hongqing frowned. He did not want to miss out on the world-cleansing divine water. "There's nothing I can do if he's lying," Yahiko said with a shrug. Based on his words, it was clear he did not intend to give up the world-cleansing divine water after possessing Duan Lingtian. Immediately, Wu Hongqing's expression changed drastically. In the end, Wu Hongqing decided to bring Duan Lingtian to his hometown. "Duan Lingtian, as far as I know, you have more than one hometown, right? Are you referring to the Holy Region realm or the Yanhuang realm?" Duan Lingtian was surprised by Wu Hongqing's words. He did not expect Wu Hongqing to know so much about him. To be more precise, the tidal temple knew so much about him. "The Yanhuang realm." Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, "Although I've spent more time in the Saint Province realm, and the Saint Province realm accounts for more of my hometown, the 5 divine elements are in the Yanhuang realm, not the Saint Province realm. Naturally, if you obtain the 5 divine elements and are willing to send me back to the Saint Province realm, I'll be even more grateful." Based on Duan Lingtian's words, it was as though he was certain he would die. "You're smart." Wu Hongqing looked at Duan Lingtian meaningfully before he said, "If you're not lying to us, we can send you back to the Saint Province realm and let Yahiko possess you there." In the end, Wu Hongqing decided to send Yahiko to another place to possess Duan Lingtian. After all, the 5 divine elements were too tempting. In the end, even Mi Xian was not in a hurry to track down Feng Qingyang and his law clones. Instead, He left the title temple with Duan Tian, Wu Jingdian, and Yahiko and returned to the solitary destructive heaven in the Devata realm. Then, through the solitary destructive heaven, they traveled to the Yin Huang realm, Duan Lingtian's hometown. Where are the 5 divine elements? Wu Hongqing and Yahiko followed closely behind Duan Lingtian as they stared at him intently. Mi Xian followed closely behind them as well. It's just ahead. We're almost there. Duan Lingtian brought the 3 of them as they traveled through the boundless starry sky of Yanhuang realm. His eyes swept across his surroundings as though he was searching for something. At the same time, he extended his divine consciousness as well. Finally, after 5 days, Duan Lingtian came to a halt. He appeared in the ruins of a barren planet. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian was the first to appear in the ruins of a barren planet. Wu Hongqing, Yahiko, and Mi Xian followed closely behind. As soon as they landed, their expressions changed drastically. This was especially true for Mi Xian. He was in his soul form, so his body trembled uncontrollably. It's really the other 5 divine elements. I can sense the chaos divine flame's energy. That's the profound divine metal, the clear heavens divine wood, and the chaos divine earth. Wu Hongqing's eyes lit up when he heard the energy coming from the 5 divine elements. 2 of them would belong to him in the title temple. Yahiko, on the other hand, had a regretful expression on his face when he regained his senses. If he had known earlier, he would not have been so generous as to promise Wu Hongqing 2 divine elements. This was because he had thought Duan Lingtian was lying. As for Mi Xian, he became even more agitated. I want the clear heavens divine wood of these 5 divine elements. Compared to the other 5 divine elements, the clear heavens divine wood was more suitable for a soul form like him. Moreover, he could possess the clear heavens divine wood and use its characteristics to transform into various forms. Moreover, the clear heavens divine wood was also very suitable for a soul form to possess. Moreover, cultivating in the clear heavens divine wood would be twice as effective with half the effort. All right, Wu Hongqing nodded. I want the profound divine metal and the chaos divine flame. As soon as he opened his mouth, he asked for the 2 main offensive types of the 5 divine elements. Hall Master Wu. Upon hearing Wu Hongqing's words, Yahiko was slightly reluctant. Fire and water have always been incompatible. I have the world-cleansing divine water and the chaos divine flame, so I can give them to you and the title temple. However, you have to give me the profound divine metal. Based on Yahiko's words, it was clear he wanted the world-cleansing divine water and the profound divine metal, the chaos divine flame, and the chaos divine earth to Wu Hongqing. Chapter 35-44. Chaos Divine Earth? Wu Hongqing frowned. Yahiko, I don't need the Chaos Divine Earth. You can have the profound divine metal if you want, but you have to give me the world-cleansing divine water. I want the world-cleansing divine water and the Chaos Divine Flame. Duan Lingtian, who had his back facing them, sneered when he heard Wu Hongqing and Mi Yin haggling inwardly. 2 idiots. Swoosh. Swoosh. As soon as this thought appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind, a gentle aura swept out of his body and entered the ground in just a blink of an eye. Upon seeing this, Yahiko's elder brother, Mi Xian, asked coldly, "What are you doing?" At this moment, Wu Hongqing and Yahiko shifted their attention to Duan Lingtian. A hint of vigilance could be seen on their faces as well. In fact, they did not believe Duan Lingtian when he said he wanted to die in his hometown. However, the temptation of the 5 divine elements was too great. Moreover, they were confident that Duan Lingtian would not be able to escape their control even if he went to the mundane realm. Moreover, they did not think Duan Lingtian would be able to find help to deal with them. Now that the 3 of them were together, they were not afraid even if Feng Qingyang's true body or his law clones were to come. Due to their confidence and greed, they had brought Duan Lingtian to the mundane realm, Yin Huang realm. When they arrived at the barren planet in Yin Huang realm, they could clearly sense the auras of the other 4 divine elements. The auras of these 4 divine element spirits were extremely powerful. Clearly, they were all high-level divine element spirits. Nothing. Duan Lingtian slowly turned around and looked at Mi Xian. He said indifferently, "The world-cleansing divine water hasn't seen its old friends for a long time, so it went to catch up with them. Furthermore, I am about to die, so there is no need for it to reside in my body." After Duan Lingtian said this, Mi Xian didn't say anything else. After all, Duan Lingtian's explanation was methodical and flawless. Divine King Mi Xian. At this time, Wu Hongqing looked at Mi Xian and said solemnly, "Your soul is the strongest here. Please keep an eye on the 5 divine elements and don't let them escape." "There's no need for Hallmaster Wu to remind me," Mi Xian said. Earlier, his boundless presence had already enveloped the entire planet and a large portion of the surrounding star field. It was impossible for the 5 divine elements to escape from under his nose. "Sure, you can have the world-cleansing divine water." In the end, because of Wu Hongqing's insistence, Yahiko compromised. Among the 5 divine elements, the world-cleansing divine water and the chaos divine flame would belong to Wu Hongqing in the tidal temple. As for the other 3 divine elements, they would belong to him and his big brother, Mi Xian. A bright smile appeared on Wu Hongqing's face when he saw that Yahiko had compromised. "Yahiko, don't waste any more time. It's time to possess Duan Lingtian. Now that we've brought him to his hometown, Yanhuang Realm, we've fulfilled one of his wishes." When Wu Hongqing looked at Duan Lingtian again, he smiled faintly, but his eyes were indifferent. "Duan Lingtian." Yahiko looked at Duan Lingtian with a bright smile on his face. "Thank you for providing me with information about the 5 divine elements. Thank you for your body. If you have an afterlife, you can choose to be a dog. If you meet me, I'll definitely feed you well and take good care of you." Ha ha ha. Yahiko could not help but laugh when he reached the end of his sentence. Duan Lingtian remained calm in the face of Yahiko's laughter. He looked at Yahiko coldly and did not say a word. Whoosh! At the same time, Yahiko's soul finally left Tathagata's body and rushed toward Duan Lingtian's body. Bang! Tathagata's body fell to the ground. He closed his eyes for a moment before he struggled to open them again. He sat down cross-legged and looked at Duan Lingtian with a hint of pity in his eyes. "Ba. Benefactor Duan deserves the credit for me regaining control of my body. I'm afraid it'll be difficult to repay this karma." Tathagata sighed as he muttered to himself. Over the years, although Master Yahiko has taken over the initiative of his body, he is aware of everything that happens outside. Master Yahiko's experience is no different from his own experience. It's just that he can't control his body, that's all. He was more like a spectator who had witnessed everything. Whoosh! Yahiko's soul rushed into Duan Lingtian's body and rushed toward Duan Lingtian's soul. "Duan Lingtian, I won't be sending you off." Yahiko's soul chuckled in Duan Lingtian's mind. Then, a powerful soul, or more accurately, a soul, charged toward Duan Lingtian's soul. Yahiko did not even bother to use any tricks since he did not think it was necessary. Even if Duan Lingtian was a 10-direction celestial emperor, his soul was strong enough to shatter the soul of a mere celestial emperor. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." However, Duan Lingtian's soul remained calm even when faced with Excellency Mi Haya's powerful soul attack. He replied indifferently, "Yes? Stop trying to be mysterious. In the next moment, your soul will be shattered by my soul." Yahiko sneered disdainfully. At this moment, Yahiko's soul was not far away from Duan Lingtian's soul. "Is that so?" As soon as Duan Lingtian sneered, a 5-colored light suddenly shone around Duan Lingtian's soul. There was a golden light, a green light, a blue light, a red light, and a yellow light. It was dazzling and magnificent. Not only was the 5-colored light beautiful, but it also seemed to have transformed into a bloody mouth when it appeared around Duan Lingtian's soul. Then, it swallowed Yahiko's soul that was charging toward him. No! Yahiko's soul let out a mournful shriek almost as soon as the bloody mouth swallowed it. The shriek was so loud that it reverberated at a terrifying frequency. Even Mi Xian and Wu Hongqing, who were outside, heard it loud and clear. Instantly, the two of them turned pale. Tathagata, who was sitting cross-legged, also heard the scream. He looked at Duan Lingtian in shock. "Heavens! Is this for real?" Master Yahiko let out a shrill cry when he was trying to possess Duanling Tian's body. Moreover, he did not move after that. Tathagata instinctively extended his divine sense and fell on Duanling Tian's body. He only felt the power of the 5 elements fused together, and it was not difficult to identify what kind of power it was. It's the power of the 5 divine elements fused together. Duanling Tian destroyed Yahiko's soul with the help of the 5 divine elements. Tathagata sucked in a breath of cold air. Others might not know how terrifying Yahiko's soul was, but Tathagata knew very well. After all, he had been suppressed by Yahiko for many years. And now, Yahiko was destroyed? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tathagata was so frightened that he fell into a daze. Little brother Yin, Yahiko's elder brother, Misty, the patriarch of the dead spirit tribe, could not help but cry out in grief. When he looked at Duanling Tian again, his soul grew restless. You destroyed my little brother Yan's soul. I want you dead. I want you dead. In the next moment, Yahiko turned into a blood-red light and shot toward Duanling Tian. Misty, I'll go to the dead spirit tribe to find you sooner or later. Almost as soon as Yahiko finished his words and moved, Duanling Tian spoke again. His tone was cold and indifferent. As soon as Duanling Tian finished his words, 5 colorful beams of light suddenly appeared around his feet. The power of the 5 divine elements swept out and intertwined together to form a colorful cage, trapping Duanling Tian inside. Before Master Mi Yin could touch Duanling Tian, the 5-colored cage began to tremble violently. Then, a spatial tear appeared in the air. It seemed to contain a terrifying, devouring force as it swallowed the 5-colored cage in one gulp. Although Misty had arrived before the space crack closed, he did not dare to follow in. Behind the space crack was space turbulence. Even if he was a divine king, it would be dangerous for him to enter recklessly. Moreover, even if he took the risk to follow Duanling Tian, the chances of him catching up to Duanling Tian was very slim. This was because the spatial turbulence was constantly flowing behind the spatial tear. Anyone or anything that entered the spatial tear would be transported to an unknown place by the spatial tear in just a blink of an eye. Wu Hongqing and Tathagata only regained their senses after Duanling Tian left and the space crack closed. Naturally, their eyes shone with disbelief. Benefactor Duan, he managed to escape? Tathagata felt as though he was dreaming. When he thought about what had happened, he realized Duanling Tian must have left the realm where the Tidal Temple's main hall was located to come to Yin Huang realm, which was also Tathagata's hometown, to set up a trap. The 5 divine elements were Duanling Tian's trump card. Inconceivable. Inconceivable. All 5 of the divine elements are actually coexisting peacefully with one another and serving him. Tathagata could tell. The reason Duanling Tian was able to escape from Wu Hongqing and Yahiko, the pavilion master of the Tidal Temple and the patriarch of the Dead Spirit clan, was due to the joint attack of the 5 divine elements. That method was more like a kind of spirit formation. It was so interconnected that it was impossible to guard against it. He managed to escape? Wu Hongqing's expression darkened. He did not expect things to turn out this way. If Tathagata could figure it out, how could he not? For this reason, he was filled with regret. Why had he been deceived by Duanling Tian? Why had he brought Duanling Tian to this mundane realm? If they were in the Tidal Temple's main temple, Duanling Tian would not have been able to escape even if he could kill Yahiko. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.